Hello and welcome back to the Goat Cave podcast. It's been a while, guys. I'm super excited to be back. Anyways, today's guest is a Southern Ontario local who has played a huge role in skatepark advocacy. He and his company, Transitions Bike Parks, have been building some of the best BMX-style pump tracks in Canada. On top of that, Chris Dewar has been behind the scenes for years within Canadian BMX, hosting jams, writing articles in Chase BMX magazine, and even becoming a great role model for the younger generation. I'm super pumped to be sitting down with one of the first people I met within BMX all these years later. Chris Dewar, how are you, dude?
Hey Cam, thanks for having me, man. Doing pretty well.
Dude, I'm psyched to have you here. This is going to be a lot of fun. So in the intro, I had mentioned that, I met you super long ago. It's been a while, and it's kind of interesting because even back then, you don't really know too much about a person. And I think over the years, I've just learned so much about you and what you do for the community and whatnot. And this was something that I was wanting to do for quite a while. I think I had a couple people bring it up, like good friend Travis. He definitely, for the past 6 months, has been like, you got to have Dewar on. You got to have Chris, man. You got to have him on. And the plan was always to have you. So it's good to have you here for 97.
Thanks, man. Travis is the man. And it's good to be able to sit down with you and, talk a little bit about my involvement in the sport. And I've never really been a huge, super skilled rider or anything like that. So it's maybe not quite as much, in the limelight as some of the other people in the scene, from a riding standpoint, but definitely always been there behind the scenes. And some of the things you said, in the intro, it's a little flattering, probably a little too much, but appreciate the good words either way.
Definitely, man. So, you know how this starts off. We go all the way back to when you first started riding. So what got you into BMX and, what kept you there all these years later?
Well, yeah, that's a great podcast question, and I'll try to keep it relatively concise. I can definitely go on for certain things, but I'll try to keep it brief as possible. So, yeah, BMX, honestly, I started probably riding mountain bikes. That was what got me into it. Riding 26-inch bikes. And then I would say that my cousin in the States, he was down in Ohio. Those guys were getting into BMX and trails and all that. So I kind of got a little bit of familiarity through him. And then, same classic story, seeing it on TV, seeing the X Games, seeing dirt. I remember seeing Mirra on TJ Lavin X Games, like backflipping huge dirt jumps. So a combination of exposure through my cousin in the States and then seeing a little bit of it on TV kind of got me hooked.
Definitely, man. That is really cool. I think everybody has a different experience, and that's one of the more unique ones. Like a big thing that I've seen with even some of the biggest pros in the world is that they all got started because they saw a dude just biking down the street on a BMX and he did a bunny hop or something, right? But it's cool to see that it was your cousins and then, somewhat from on TV as well. It's really interesting. Now, did you ever get into BMX racing at all?
A little bit of racing, not too much. I did a little bit of mountain bike racing, but honestly, from the competitive side, I was never really that good, to be straight up. Like, I could pedal around a track and, I can hold my own in certain things, but never winning anything, never that skilled, never that fast, never that, dedicated to be that good at it. But racing, I always respected a lot. You look at some of the best riders in our sport, and they've obviously got the racing background, learning that skill, that control, the speed, all that. Definitely.
And it's been a while, but the Olympics obviously happened this past summer, and I was actually super interested in the BMX racing stuff. So it's kind of cool to, see that stuff, even the progression with it. I feel like racing is almost like flatland, where things are just so off on their own and not involved with the mainstream BMX stuff, right?
It's true.
Yeah.
Racing for me was always on the periphery, really. I was aware of it. I respected it, but it was nothing that I was super into. If you look at racing, the history of it, it's always been more organized, more sanctioned, more legit, which is awesome. And we can talk more about that and, some of the legitimacy of BMX and my thoughts on that. But I don't know, for whatever reason, I was never super into the racing side. I don't know if it felt like a bit of a jock aspect of BMX. Just the scheduling and the competitiveness. I respect it, but I never really got too into it myself.
Definitely. I can totally see that, man. I think that you're right, with everything being so scheduled and so, at a certain point, like, and so off on its own, definitely could see kind of a jock-esque to it.
Yeah, it was more organized. There was more rules in it. It was almost the opposite of what a lot of BMX was for me, and I think what the sport meant. It was unstructured, freestyle, underground, kind of playing by your own rules. Racing was the opposite of that. You had to show up at a certain time. You have to have a full face helmet or a mouth guard, chin guard, pants,
No pegs,
gloves, stuff like that. You have to have brakes, and it was like the real opposite, And I just wanted to go to the track and ride it, but it was never that easy. You had to kind of have a license and a membership and come at a certain time, and that really wasn't what BMX ever was for me.
Definitely, man. I could totally agree with you there. I've never even really gotten into racing. I've never actually raced in a race, but I don't know. I'd still like to give it a go, but I can definitely see that it is not the same, right? The thing that I love about BMX is literally just being able to take my bike and go outside and just go find something to ride, right? There's a spot that's near kind of where I used to live and where you are located, and it was right across the street, and that is the best thing, right? You could literally just go and ride this bank spot.
Exactly. Margaret Avenue School.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I've got some memories there for sure. And honestly, that's what BMX was always for me. I could just walk out my front door, throw my helmet on, or whatever it is, grab my bike, and now you're doing it. It was at your fingertips.
Definitely. Now, what was the first BMX bike that you ever had?
Yeah, so I can tell you that I had a Haro Race SR2 or whatever it was. Don't quote me on but it was a chromoly Haro race bike, and so I took that to Ohio, where I used to go and visit my cousin and his friends. They had a scene there. They had 2 or 3 trail spots, and backyard trails. They had locals that were into it. They had racing there, so it was legit. In Ohio, good scene there, and I took my brand new Haro race bike there, and that's when I started to learn how to ride doubles, and just riding in my friend's backyard, my cousin's friend, and I remember first few runs at the trails, not huge jumps by any means, a couple feet tall, and again going back to my skill level, never really a natural. I think it was my first day on that bike in Ohio. At that spot, and just nose bonked the landing, learning to ride dubs, and just caved the frame in. Snapped, didn't snap it, but it buckled the whole frame in.
Yeah.
Got winded, didn't knock myself out, but I got winded pretty badly. And then, my friends were just like, look at your frame, it's buckled. And I just remember looking at the head tube junction. It was just destroyed.
Yeah,
one day
totally bent, no longer a nice 75-degree head tube angle. It's way in.
It was a bummer, man. I think I had my mountain bike there too, so I wasn't a total loss. But after that, I think I had that bike for about a week total, and then I went back to my shop, Cycle Path in Mississauga, which became Gears Bike Shop, always helping me out, and they got me a GT Fueler, which was, I think I posted that up the other day. It was 1997 GT Fueler. So, I got that. It had Elf bars on it. Some nice kind of Shimano DX pedals, all that. One-piece cranks, man. That was when you bought a bike and it came with one-piece cranks, and eventually had to upgrade to 3-piece profiles, that kind of thing. So that was the start. I already had a nice mountain bike at that point, but that kind of turn the page for me there.
Dude, it's so weird to see one-piece cranks in 2021. A kid came to the park the other day, and I think he has had this bike for a little while. He's learning, he's doing stuff, but it's got one-piece cranks on it, and I'm like, that is the first thing you got to change. And I was even thinking in my head, because it's been so long since I've had to run them, that it's wait, can he just change them? He'll have to get a new bottom bracket, obviously, and what else is gonna happen? Literally, I haven't had to think about it, because for me, BMX for the last 10 years has been, you know, 3-piece cranks, sealed bottom bracket, mid-size. Like, this kid had an American bottom bracket, unsealed 1-piece cranks. Like, dude, throwback bike right there.
Yeah, when I got into it, like, you had to invest, and you know, the time, the money, and yeah, you had to replace that bottom bracket. I think, you know, 3-piece cranks back then were not super easy to get, so you had to source them out and then, you know, put them on. So it was an investment in time and money and stuff like that, and kind of demonstrated your commitment to the sport, right? Like, you kind of had to step up, and, you know, it just wasn't like out of the box.
Definitely. Man, I gotta say, I bet you for you, it's pretty wild to think about like how much BMX has changed since you first started, right? Like, even just what we were talking about with the cranks and the bearings and whatnot. That is like standard now on a BMX bike, is mid-sealed bottom bracket with 3-piece cranks. Like 19 mil or 22, even 24 mil is
Honestly,
a big thing now.
Yeah. And then after that, I upgraded. I got my first custom bike was a DK General Lee, so I built that up, and that was actually the only custom bike I've ever owned. Ever since then, I've always gotten a complete, but yeah, I built up a custom General Lee, you know, profile cranks, like serious oversized wheels. I actually had to grind down the axles. They're oversized 14 mil axles.
Yeah.
With a standard size dropout. So I remember sitting there for months, literally months, grinding these things out by hand.
Damn.
So I slotted the axles out so they'd fit in this frame. I remember sitting there for like literally months over the wintertime doing that. And then, yeah, just the progression of the bikes. I had a Specialized over the years, and I remember that came with a Euro bottom bracket, and I was like, yeah, this is awesome, you know. And it's like, it was maybe a little kooky, a little bit too mountain bikey, but yeah, I had Euro bottom bracket, and then I never had a Spanish BB, but everything's mid now, I guess.
Yeah, I think majority is all mid. And I was actually kind of wondering, so if anybody listening rides a fly frame, like a newer fly, does it still use a Spanish bottom bracket? Because up until like 5 years ago, they were still running Spanish bottom bracket on pretty much all of their frames.
Yeah, I still have a few sets of American BBs actually, because I've got a Redline 24-inch bike that has Redline flight cranks with an American BB, super ghetto. You gotta bang it out with a flat mallet or
yeah,
whatever.
like a mallet.
Yeah, it's pretty ancient technology. And then I've got a couple other bikes too that have American BBs still. So definitely seen a lot of progression over the years, man. Like when I first started, bikes were easily 40 pounds. Again, you had to put everything together custom if you wanted a decent bike. Now you just pull it out of the box, and you know, I guess if you want to go that route.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, including yourself. You ride a United, I believe, and plus you have a 22-inch that are both completes with, you know, a couple little things added on, but nothing major. And that's a huge step, right? Like for myself, obviously my bike is fully custom, but I think that's more or less just the fact that I've always had a custom bike, right?
Yeah.
Like, might as well just buy the specific things. I'm also like, you can't buy a complete bike with that frame, obviously. So,
yeah.
But yeah, what else do you have for a collection of bikes? Because I know that you have a big collection of bikes.
Yeah, I got a few bikes. The United. Yeah, you remember the United?
Yep.
I got that at the bike show one year. That was a nice 20-inch KL40. It's the trail specific. What is it? Cayenne Leo Forte.
Right.
Super nice bike. I don't know, just that high gloss blue. The tan wall tires. I think the only thing I switched on it was the cranks. I ended up putting on, I think there's profiles on there right now.
Yeah.
Some nice chrome profiles. I think I got a tie spindle on there. And then, yeah, the 22-inch bike, I've gotten into that technology. Honestly, like, again, never been super skilled natural rider, and that 22-inch bike it just makes things a little bit easier, you know, get over the jumps a little bit easier. You can roll faster, more momentum. It's a little bit more forgiving. So I've got two 22s. One's a We the People audio, and then the second one is a DK Vega, which I'm planning to sell. It's been kind of lazy on selling that.
Yeah.
And again, the only things I've ever changed on these bikes is the cranks. I don't know what it is, but I've had the We the People cranks for probably 15 years, and just, you know, matched it up to the We the People frame.
Nice.
Still running, you know, strong after all these years.
Yeah.
With those 48 splines, and they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, and with that too, I mean, with most cranks being 48 spline, you can literally just switch out a spindle if something happens. It's more or less the crank arms. Like I had a set of a Clat 22 mil tibias that I rode for quite a while, but totally cracked those. Like had to take them off my bike immediately when I saw the crack.
Oh man, yeah.
And those are like strong cranks.
Yeah,
Those are the ones that
you're savage.
Burns rides. So
Yeah, that's savage, man. I don't know if I've broken any cranks. I may have, maybe done some damage to them, but never anything that bad. And then in terms of other bikes, I don't know. I've got a couple old school bikes. I've got that Dave Mirra Haro that I'm actually planning to, I haven't posted anything up yet, but I'd like to like auction this bike off and donate the funds to some sort of fund for, I don't know, Dave Mirra mental health kind of thing.
Nice.
So
That's a good idea.
I'll put that
I
out
like
there
that.
right now, and then I'm committed to it. But I took some photos of it today, and it's just a bike that's sitting in my collection. It weighs like 45 pounds. It probably is a little bit more nostalgic than anything else, and might mean something to someone else more than it does to me. And I should. I'm gonna plan to raffle that off and then donate the funds. It's kind of taking up a little bit of space in the garage, so
nice.
Yeah, nothing special. It's like a Haro 540 flare or something. It's like Haro 2-piece cranks, but Haro nice knee saver bars and stem and all that. So it's cool. And then I've got an old SE race bike, and then my mountain bikes. I've got a pretty nice titanium hardtail mountain bike, 29-inch. Road bike, got a cyclocross bike I treated myself to this year, stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you have a Surly at all?
No, I know we got the thing right there.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Right
man.
there,
Yeah,
up in the top. I don't know if you can see
that would be
one.
nice. They're a nice company. I think, are they Canadian or no?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool company for sure.
Yeah, when I worked at King Street Cycles, they were really popping off. That's when like the fat bike craze really hit, and Surly was at the forefront of that, right? They were like the leading company making fat bikes. And on top of that, they just had really cool bikes, right? Like they named a few of their bikes after some of the trails at Whistler. So they have like the Karate Monkey, which is a really cool mountain bike. And I forget who had that. I think it might have been Dave that worked there, but it was in this like beautiful baby blue color.
Nice.
And man, I've always been a fan of those. If I was to get a mountain bike, I would for sure want a Surly, at least a Surly frame. Those things are sweet.
Yeah, it seems like a good company. It's not like some big corporate giant
definitely
company that's some faceless, but they seem like they do some pretty good stuff for the industry, and good to put your money in a company like that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Smaller, that's for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. And one of the people I actually met at King Street years ago, I think you were actually pretty good friends with him, Igor.
Yes.
Yeah,
Igor.
yeah. Dude, years ago. That dude would like come around the bike shop like pretty much every Wednesday night and just hang out with us for a couple hours.
Igor.
Super cool. Yeah, has such a great attitude too.
We can talk about Igor for hours, I'm sure, but
I haven't seen him in years, but like I always see his stuff on Facebook, and dude, hilarious.
So,
I like that
in
guy.
terms of the trails and stuff that we're building with our company, Igor is essentially the mastermind behind the mountain bike trails that we're creating.
Yeah.
So, he's running our excavator. He's out there today. Like, I don't know how many hours he's putting in today, but he's basically, I don't know, I would consider him to be one of the grandfathers of mountain biking cross-country trails in Ontario. I've got full faith in him. He's kind of he is our main guy when it comes to the cross-country mountain biking trails that we're doing with transition. So yeah, Igor,
He's the man.
He is the man.
Yeah,
definitely.
So as being an Ontario BMX rider, and of course being in Southern Ontario, Metro Jam is such a huge thing for all of us. And anybody who listens to this show knows that, because I bring it up anytime that I have a Canadian on here, or even like some mid-school guys have some fond memories. But I wanted to ask you just about Metro Jam, because I feel like you would have been around to see some of the peak years,
Yeah, I can talk about Metro Jam, and I won't go on too long, but when I first started riding and going to the bike show in Toronto, it was called the Elsinore, and there was a dirt contest and I believe a flat contest that happened, and I competed, the first year. Again, probably had no business being there, barely cleared the jumps. They were really big from what I recall. But yeah, that was one of the first contests, was called Elsinore, and that was probably late 90s. And then I remember when Metro, or actually it wasn't called Metro, the first contest that was hosted there of that caliber was called La Revolution.
Yeah.
And I believe Jay Mirra was the man behind that.
Yep.
Along with his team, but it was called La Revolution. That's when you see the Che Guevara logo, and that was at the time, I would say, the heaviest contest series, that it had been out. Like, everyone loved it. The jam format, the ramps, it was the who's who of BMX. You had Ruben, Taj, Robbie Morales, like Chris Bennett, all these dudes coming out, Alistair Witten, Van Homan. That was like the glory years, I would say. And I remember seeing that, and some of the riding that was going down, it was revolutionary, I believe, at the time. And you'd see stuff like wall ride to tail whip, downside tail whips out of wall rides, and I don't know, just that big progression happening at that point in time. And I was there, every day kind of thing, just hanging out. I jump on the GO train. I grew up in Mississauga, South Mississauga, so I just jump on the GO train, go check out the bike show. I'd be there for 2 or 3 days, and hanging out, seeing all these pros. And that's when I realized, I don't know, it was right there. You could meet people. People were actually pretty down to earth. You can meet all these big pros and whatnot, and some really fond memories of that. So that was La Rev. And then, we can talk about Metro too if you want, but
yeah, I feel like, it's better known as like Toronto BMX Jam, right? Because for years it obviously changed quite a bit in names, and even most recently it was just BMX Jam, I believe, or X Jam, sorry.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. It's rad to see that, every weekend, like the first weekend in March would always be just an insane BMX contest that, up until, unfortunately, they stopped doing it, would always have people coming in from all over the world. Like, when I was there in 2017, Jay Dalton was there, and Jay Dalton's obviously a huge YouTube guy who is unreal on a bike. Like, his YouTube videos are actually pretty sweet, and just seeing him ride is insane. And to see him ride in person is like totally different, right? And at that jam, he did one of the craziest things that day, and it wasn't even during his run. Like, it was after the buzzer, so nothing counts at this point. He just did it because he felt like it. There's a box jump off to the side, right? And then or I guess it's in the middle of the course, but they have a step up off to the side. And he went up the bank and hit it as a step down, but to the box jump, and flipped it. It's like the last thing that should ever even be gapped is like he's backflipping it. Like, dude,
you'd see the best stuff go down there, and there'd be people you've never even heard of, and all these different heats, and it'd be like just stacked with riders, and it just you'd sit there and watch practice even, and it'd just be heavy bangers, all day long, and then you're just sitting there watching it, soaking it all in. It was awesome. The Metro Jam, I remember seeing that. That's when things got real big, when they had it at the Ricoh Coliseum. Yeah. And that was probably the height of the Toronto contest series, was when Mirra hosted it in the actual Coliseum next door. So where the Toronto Marlies play. Full stadium, big budget. That was rad. They put all plywood down on the floors. Dave Mirra came out. I'll talk a little bit about that as well. I got to meet Dave Mirra.
Dude, that's wild, man. What was it like meeting Mirra? God. Because Mirra is fun story. He's the best, like everybody has kind of just made sure of that. Like, he is the man. He was such an incredible source of like inspiration within BMX and whatnot, and just always sending like craziest shit.
I think that with Dave Mirra, I have a ton of respect for him. I think that he did so much for the sport. He really put BMX on the map in terms of mainstream sports and things like that.
Yeah.
It's funny because, you know, I've always been part of the things I've always tried to do is, you know, help legitimize BMX and make it a little bit more, just a little bit more normalized for, you know, municipalities or whatever it is. But with Mirra, like he represented that so well, but I was never into it. Like, to be perfectly honest, I never really loved his style of riding. I appreciated it. I respected it. I thought it was rad. But I'd be cheering for like Jay Miron to beat Dave. Mirra, you know what I mean?
Canadian too, I mean.
Yeah, but I had so much respect for Dave, and some of the stuff he did, it was just rad, and he proved himself, you know, time and time again, like that he could hang. And regardless of his, you know, he'd be the top sponsored rider, you know, with the big contracts, Adidas, Haro. I think he rode for like Ford. I think he was like sponsored by Ford at one point.
Yeah.
Mustang. I was never super into it because it was almost more, it was too corporate. I was more into the underground thing, like, you know, seeing like T1, you know,
Definitely
the underground side. So I was, but yeah, so to get back to your question, Dave Mirra was at the Toronto BMX Jam the one year, and I don't know how it happened, but I threw my name in this hat for this little contest they had for Oakley. Oakley was there that year.
right.
And ended up winning. Just like pulled my name out of the hat randomly, and
That's
I
pretty
ended up
wild.
winning like an Oakley prize pack. And then it was like, all right, after the contest, okay, we've got like the gold place, you know, the first place winner. I don't know if he won. He obviously got top 3. You know, he might have won, but you know, there's the winner circle. You've got all these pros in there, and then they're like, oh, and we've got the winner of the Oakley prize pack, Chris Dewar. Come on down. I was like,
so
okay, yeah, here I am. And it's like, oh, hey, like shaking hands. It's like Dave Mirra's there, and I'm like, okay, I'm definitely going to take this opportunity to say what's up to Dave Mirra.
Yeah.
I remember my buddy Mike Pose, he placed on the podium in the expert comp or whatever. I'm like, all right, Mike, let's go say what's up to Dave Mirra. All right, let's go do it. And super nice guy, super down to earth. He's actually really short, you know, he was not a huge guy, but you know, you look in his eye and he was intense. Like he was a competitor.
Yeah, definitely.
So it was cool to shake his hand and, you know, chat with him for a couple minutes, and you know, he had such an impact on the sport. So that was something that meant a lot to me over the years.
Dude, he was such a competitor. He's even eyeing you up. He's like, motherfucker, I'm going to take that Oakley prize pack. I want that.
Oh, God, I can't believe I ended up down there. But, yeah, I'll take it, you know. You got to take the good luck with the bad luck. And
that is so wild. That is so cool.
Ridiculous. I still have those Oakleys. All the things, I still have that. They're white Oakleys I somehow won during that Metro comp.
Man. That's hilarious. I love that. So you've met some other pros over the years, obviously, too. And I think everybody kind of meets them in different ways, right? Like, I remember this is probably the last time that this has happened for quite a while, but the Sunday team came to Canada, and they were doing kind of like a shop stop at a bunch of different shops, and they stopped at backpedaling. I met, like, the whole Sunday team, you know, Aaron
Jim
Ross,
C.
everybody. I don't know if Jim C was there at the time. He might have been. But
I know he came to Kitchener at one point.
Oh, yeah, dude. I can't wait. Jim's going to come back at some point. I mean, we've already kind of planned stuff out for the future,
Nice.
but hopefully if he does make it back here, he's going to come in on the show in person, which is like perfect. You know, I've had Jim on before, but to get to sit down with him would be something really cool.
He's an awesome dude, and I'm not sure if I've ever met him or not, but another guy that's done a lot for the sport. And
yeah,
you know, he's like Kink Bikes, and he was Kink Bikes back in the day. He's one of their original team guys.
Yeah.
And then I believe he started up Sunday Bikes.
Yep. Yeah, he
so-
started Sunday. I know that for sure.
Yeah, because when I started riding, he was full on kink.
Yeah.
And yeah, just another awesome dude in the industry that's done a lot for the sport, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But anyways, go back on that day. Yeah, Aaron Ross, all these pros came to town, and then we rode Trashmore. Like, super weird, right? To go and ride at a local park with like some of the best pros ever.
That's crazy.
But you know, other than that, like with Toronto Jam again being so close, everybody can kind of go meet their favorite pro, or at least they could. So, who are some of the pros that you met? Not just at Toronto Jam, but just in general.
Yeah, and it was one of the things we were talking about before was I think BMX has been quite accessible, right? You can meet the top guys. They're pretty down to earth, they're pretty friendly and approachable. And just being in Woodward, I went to Woodward as a camper, as a kid. I got to meet Matt Hoffman was there, Joe Rich, Taj, Ruben Alcantara was there.
Wow.
I went the second time I went to Woodward, they were hosting it was like a B2 contest or B3 or whatever it was. And I think we timed our week so that we got to go before and check out the contest. And it was stacked. Like Jay Mirra was there. I remember seeing him do like a Superman seat grab 360. Probably never seen that again. Ruben, all these dudes were there, Matt Hoffman. But yeah, BMX has always been somewhat attainable. Like you can go up and just, meet, people are just right there. There's not like some big security entourage or they're not behind, all these ropes and gates and things like that. It's like, okay, well, there's Van Homan. I've got to meet Van Homan and, I don't know. I think that for me growing up, when I was riding, like there was nobody that rode BMX. So I would have to go out of my way to meet people and say hello. And that just carried over into pros and stuff. So I just go up and say hi. And, I got to meet Corey Nastasio in New York. I met Alistair Witten a couple times. Jay Miron, we had some really good chats and dialogue with him over the years about some other stuff as well. But
Jay is, dude, he's just another level, right? Like by far, like
he did a lot for the sport and
dude, for Canadian BMX, like that's the guy, right? Like that's the reason why we had Metro Jam, Toronto Jam. That's why we had 10 pack, I believe. That's why we had McNeil. That's why we have Chase BMX magazine, I believe.
I think he helped fund that.
I know that he did so much. Guys, I'm sorry. Like it's been 2 months. I'm a little rusty at the moment. If I'm behind, if I'm not quite thinking straight.
No, you're good, man. You're good.
Sorry. Normally I'm like I can list off everything, but again, 2 months of not doing this. Wild, dude. I gotta stop doing that. I gotta fucking do this every week again.
Here, let's take this time to.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about this. What is all this?
I got your little package, man, and I know you've been doing a ton for the sport in your own right as well, right? Like, look at all the stuff you've been doing, all this hard work you put in, organizing these podcasts, bringing all these people on the show, man. You've had tons of people, like a lot of legends in the sport, and
it's
kind of a thankless job, and I think you've done an awesome job with it, and just want to give you a little thanks too.
Oh man, thank you so much. I appreciate
I picked this up today locally. Take a look,
dude. I'm excited. I know for a fact you listen or that you watch because this is a beer glass. So yeah. Oh, Waterloo. I like them. This is rad,
it's not
dude.
exactly super small local or anything, but it's local. At least.
Dude, they're rad. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. This is a pretty rad
leave the
beer
price
glass.
tag on there.
I don't think so. That's whatever.
Check out the I got a little something to fill that.
Yeah, dude. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I got you a shirt, but it's probably gonna be too small.
Nice craft lager. Love it, dude. These are gonna be, had before the show ends. IPA, my favorite.
I thought you were an IPA guy.
I absolutely am. I got a IPA going here. This is the Wicked Awesome IPA that I'm drinking. Oh, a Fest beer.
Yeah, that's the
dude. Thank you.
Fest.
Yeah, I really appreciate this, man. That's it's so nice of you.
And then this is probably going to be a little small for you. It's a medium, so
oh, dude, wicked.
I can link up a large when I get that next batch.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of this, man.
Hey,
this is really
Thanks
nice
for having
of you.
me. And like I said, it's I know you've done a lot of hard work, and sometimes it's not always appreciated.
I think I get quite a bit of appreciation. There's I definitely have a lot of things that I'm so thankful for when it comes to BMX and just doing the podcast and whatnot. And I think some days definitely can feel like something's just not right, or maybe things just don't seem the way that you wanted it to play out. But within doing this, man, the podcast has been by far one of my favorite things that I've ever done, and the most meaningful, rewarding experience of my life, which is really
awesome.
cool. You know,
Yeah,
like,
you've had some great guests on here and some really good chats. And
man, to be recognized by like some of the biggest BMX people in the world is like such a wild thing for me. You know, like
Definitely.
it's super weird for just being a dude who, you know, loves BMX. Like, I feel like everybody should be able to feel this and like have these same experiences, I guess. But
I think that's
yeah,
what unique about BMX is that, you know, yeah, you can have these conversations with some of the biggest pros. You know, you probably never be able to do that in, you know, a lot of traditional team sports like, I don't know, basketball or football. Like, I'm sure some people can, but you know, for your average person, you know, they're not meeting their NFL heroes.
yeah,
You know what I mean? In BMX, it's always been more attainable, more grassroots, and yeah, I think that's been one of the cool things about it for sure.
definitely, man. It's rad. That's why I love BMX so much, and I've like talked about that quite a bit. Is just the fact that like it is so different from anything else where like the biggest pro in the world you can just go and have a conversation with, right? Like I had Mike Aiken on the show. Like that
I
is
know,
the
yeah,
weirdest fucking
yeah,
thing. Like if I had
yeah,
to tell, you know, 14-year-old me that, like they would not believe it at all. Like
yeah.
just wild.
And that was one of the people I mentioned to my wife, actually. I'm like, oh, Mike Aiken was on the show. And it's like, for me, that is huge. Like, Mike Aiken is, I don't know.
He's the best in the world. Like it's, you know, everybody kind of agrees that Mike is like the most talented rider, and like he played the biggest role in like showing that flow meets way more than like, you know, anything else when it comes to BMX.
Man, we could do like a top 5, top 10 BMXers list. And Mike Aiken is definitely on there,
Oh my
you know?
God,
And it's like,
absolutely.
some people might put him at number 1, some people might put him 3, 5, but he's definitely in the
He's on
top
there.
10.
Yeah.
And I don't know where I'd rank Aiken. You know, I think that he's probably one of the best trail riders of all time. You know, I know you love Anthem. That's one of your favorite videos, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's key, man. You got that video camera. And I think,
That
were you
is the
telling
Anthem camera.
Aiken that, or were you telling Stu Johnson that?
Stu actually kind of hooked it up. He had let me know that they were going to be doing the oh my God, what was it? They were doing the Anthem reissue basically. So I bought a DVD and that entered you in to win the camera, and then a bunch of other stuff as well. And then when the camera was sold, Stu had told, or sorry, not sold, but when the camera had been given away, Stu had told me who had got it, which was actually Jeff Kosis, who rides for Animal. And I messaged Jeff right away. So, hey, man, if you're ever thinking about selling it,
Let me know.
just let me know. And we managed to work out a bit of a deal, which is really
Awesome.
cool. And Jeff was super cool about it. He actually gave half of the money to Sean Burns for his recovery, which was like such a rad thing, you know?
Yeah.
And that camera, like it seriously probably means the most to me in this whole office,
I
which is
remember
weird,
you saying
you
that on
know?
one of your podcasts. Was it
Yeah.
was it with Aiken or?
Most likely. I think I told Aiken
Yeah,
about that.
think
I
it
have a
was- I
habit
think it was
of
the Aiken podcast.
I have a habit of bragging about having that camera, that's for sure.
And if you think about Anthem, like Anthem 1 and 2,
Yeah.
yeah, Mike Aiken section, probably one of the best DVD parts of all time.
Absolutely.
You know,
yeah.
that flow, that style, that speed, the height, like the size of those jumps he's riding, man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I was always so blown away by the fact that Stu had chosen Mike to be the opening part to the video, mainly because everyone else has to top that, you know? But with the whole thing of Anthem 2 and the whole like video itself, it works so well. And I think everybody kind of fills in their parts very well. One of my favorite video parts of all time is actually Brian Yeagel's part from Anthem 2. And it's just the creative riding where it has literally everything. It has him riding park, dirt, and trails. Or sorry, park, street, and trails. And that is like such a big thing, right? And everything that dude did was just so good.
I think I got the signed poster, and I think it's Brian Yeagle.
Oh my God, man, that is sick.
Yeah, I think that I got his poster on that DVD. And
Let me know if that poster needs a new home.
man, I'll have to keep that in mind because it's sitting there unused in my
I'll display it nicely in
You
here
would
somewhere.
actually, man. Yeah, that might be a nice touch, actually.
Yeah, I
Maybe
need
should
to
throw that in that bag.
Yeah.
The gift bag, yeah. That'd be a nice touch.
That's all good.
I'll
We'll
keep
set
that in
something
mind.
up. Yeah, dude. Love it. Anyways, yeah, to jump back into the show here, let's move on to some other stuff. So in the intro, I had mentioned a little bit about Chase BMX magazine, and I know that you had sent in quite a few letters and then even had some articles that you helped you know,
it was
right
pretty
in
minor.
there.
It was pretty minor.
Well,
but,
dude, still something to throw on the list of awesome things Mr. Chris Dewar has done for BMX. So
it was just, yeah, there's been a variety of things, right? And I think I brought the one of the issues, but again, it was like just attainable, right? You'd write a letter into the editor and he'd be like, yeah, sure. It was Ken Paul.
Yeah.
And he was just like, yeah, sure. Let me know, send me your article. And then they published it. Right. And that was kind of cool, just being able to, be a young and upcoming BMXer rider, and then just having, that was more so my contribution to the sport. It was always a little bit behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Not really. I wasn't winning any contests. I wasn't throwing down any major groundbreaking tricks that anyone was, thinking was awesome or crazy. It was always a little bit more behind the scenes and just stuff like that, right? Like, yeah, a couple articles here and there, some letters, and
that's rad. That's really cool, man. What were some of the articles that you wrote about? I kind of wanted to...
It was about trails usually, and kind of, my theme of just legitimizing, bike tracks and parks, and like how to, turn what we were doing from this unauthorized activity, building jumps, building BMX trails in the woods, to how do we do this formally, with approval, and it's not going to get torn down. I think that was one of my articles was about like the progression of trails, and that was always my thing with BMX was dirt. And I grew up watching like PA trails, New York trails, England, that kind of thing. So it was pretty underground, pretty serious jumps those guys were riding, and that was always my favorite.
Definitely.
And then just how do we do that, and how can we I was fortunate that I had trails in my yard growing up, but once people started to ride more and started to get a little bit more into it in my area, they would have trails that would get torn down. And I think was a lot of my theme of writing and stuff like that, was that kind of thing, and how do we legitimize it.
Yeah, I think a big thing too within BMX is that pretty much anybody who has helped build trails or has been involved in the trails scene has had to deal with their jumps being plowed, ruined, or just way too many people showing up, and then all of a sudden it's kind of just dead. Even for myself, like, I'm not going to sit there and say that I did a bunch of work at the Step Up in Kitchener that was a while ago, but I definitely had went out and tried to help build some stuff once in a while. And yeah, unfortunately that place ended up getting plowed, and the rumor was that some lady was just walking through the forest with her dog and found it and then sent it into the city. And it blows me away how easily those things, those hundreds of hours, thousands of hours worth of work can just be gone in an instant, right? Like, that jump is gone. And there's quite a few people that have said, like, if you just go there with a shovel and you just start digging, you'll make it work again. Like, that jump and that lip will still be under there. It's hard as concrete just from how many times you're hitting it with a shovel and then riding it. But it's been like good probably 4 or 5 years since that jump has been, destroyed, unfortunately. And that was a big one. That's a big like experience for me. Just, all of a sudden, like, literally I had wrote it a couple days beforehand, and then I just see online that it's gone. I'm like, wow, that really sucks, And I think that, like, what you were doing, obviously, to kind of go back and say, hey, this is what we need to do in order to make this not happen, is pretty rad, right? Like, to be fair, we have no excuse to be building a bunch of shit in the woods when we have McLennan trails, and they're not the greatest in the world, but at the same time, nothing that, like, when it comes to dirt jumps, it's tough to build something that's going to be perfect that's also maintained by the city, right? Like, Cambridge, the Riverside jumps, they work really well because they actually have it fenced off and they have it set up so that when it rains or when it's bad weather, they're not going to be letting people in because it's not a good time to ride those jumps, right? You're going to end up destroying them in the process of riding them.
Yeah, and this is a whole other subject altogether, but yeah, there's a definite challenge with having city-owned or city-maintained facilities because it's obviously a niche skill to build and maintain these facilities. And to be quite honest, if you don't ride jumps and you don't know how to hit them and build them, like you're not really going to care that much. So it's challenging for any municipality to try to maintain a facility that, they still to this day may not fully understand 100%. And that's why is that? Because they don't ride, their staff doesn't ride those jumps. So, I've always likened BMX tracks and trails and parks and stuff to golf. And it's like, they require a certain level of maintenance and care and upkeep to, play properly and be safe and functional. And it's still a challenge to this day, with municipal tracks and things like that. They don't have that same level of maintenance that goes into them from like a dedicated trail crew that you'd have at a private spot. The other thing is that quite simply, a lot of these municipal parks are out in the open. They don't have the tree cover that a lot of private trails would have.
Right.
And it's pretty simple. Like, if you built a private trail spot, it's got to be in the woods because otherwise someone's going to notice it way too quickly and it's going to get plowed. So, the most successful BMX trails, I would say, are, under trees and, they're kind of tucked away.
Definitely. Yeah. I got to say, man, it's pretty wild to see how long Cox trails have been around. Like, especially with the fact that it is sort of in some trees. You have to walk like good 5 minutes through a forest to even find it. But once you get there, it's all out in the open. Like you can see it from Google Maps.
Yeah.
But I think a big factor in that is that they would do more damage to that whole area trying to get a excavator or something just to plow those trails down than they're doing, just building those trails.
And it all depends on who owns the land too, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at, where a trail's built and how accessible it is from the roadway, and is it city-owned land? Is it like a protected woodlot? Is there environmental concerns? Does the school board own it? Or is it like some private landowner that, may not care as much as the city would?
Definitely.
Because like you said, that lady walking through the pathway through the woods, she picks up the phone. Well, that's city-owned property. Their main concern is liability and, environmental conservation and whatnot. So they're going to take the easy route and just say, okay, we'll remove it.
Yeah,
but,
unfortunately.
With Cox Trails, I believe that's privately owned land. So the city probably isn't that concerned about it because it's not their land.
Yeah.
But shout out to everyone who's dug there over the years, including Simon Cox, who's my main BMX guy with transitions, and he's done a hell of a job. He's learned so much over the years, partially due to everything he's done at Cox Trails, and then all the other locals there that have really created a cool spot.
Definitely. Yeah, man, those trails like Cox trails are incredible, man.
Oh, man.
There's been a whole crew of dudes out there this past year really putting in work, and shout out to those dudes because they are killing it, man. Like I went twice this year, once to ride and then once literally just to go and drop off stuff to help them build. So
nice.
Dude, those guys are sick and they're doing such a great job. And to see that those trails are still running and running as good as they are, you can get a full line through there and it feels good,
I was always just shocked how many jumps they had. And I'm like, where did you guys get all this dirt from? How did you build this? With machinery, there's no water access. So it was always super impressive how, how many jumps, how big jumps, how big of jumps they had. And I just never quite understood it. I was just like, you guys have put in some serious work here.
Dude, the no water thing is like huge. Like, I have no idea how they're maintaining those jumps so perfectly with literally nothing out there for water, right? There's no rivers, there's nothing close to there. Like, I believe they might have some rain barrels set up and maybe some kiddie pools that kind of drain into there. But like, that is not a big thing, right? Like,
yeah, you'd be bringing in jerry cans of water on a shovel on your handlebars, and man, if you, like, what is more BMX than that? You know, that is super grassroots. You know, when I was riding more and riding dirt, you know, I spent, I would say, a couple of years at Cox Trails where I would go, you know, on a somewhat regular basis. And I lugged some water in there a few times just to try to do my part. And it was not easy. Like, you had to go all the way down the road through that sketchy little trail, you know, with 2 jerry cans full of water and your bike and your backpack and all your gear. It's like, that was commitment.
Yeah, a lot of stuff, you know? Yeah, those trails are wild, man. And for yourself, obviously, you have a huge history of trails and building trails because you actually had some backyard trails. My buddy Ryan, who lives in London, I don't know if you would know Ryan Reynard, but
yeah, we went to fan shot together.
Yeah, dude, Ryan's the man. He's got a beautiful set of backyard trails in his backyard.
Yeah, I haven't hit them myself,
dude,
yet, but
I'll let you know when I'm going there, and I'll let you can come with us. It'd be sick. You would love them, dude. They're great.
I know. I've seen some video, and shout out to Ryan. I remember he was, again, when I went to Fanshawe to college, there wasn't a ton of BMXers, but I'd see him now and again, and he was maybe a little bit older and like definitely better skilled than I was. And I was like, oh, dude, Ryan's here. I know he could tail whip back in the day, and I was
still does.
Yeah, I was just like,
still
this guy's awesome. You know what I mean? But yeah, trails. I want to tell one more story about Cox, actually.
Yeah.
Dude, I've had some gnarly slams there. I remember, so I probably spent about 2 years there where I was going on a somewhat regular basis and trying to keep up with those guys like Jordan, Craig, Simon, I don't know, some of the shredders there. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to push myself. And I just remember washing out, like running KHE street tires or park tires and just having no grip and just like catching an edge on those tires and just like smashing my face so hard, you know, onto the ground. Just like, oh, that sucked. Like, goose egg on the face, you know. And then I think one of the peaks of my riding career was at Cox Trails when they had that little jam there, and I threw like a perfect 360 over the last set, and that was awesome for me. Like, I don't know, I just nosed in, and you know, I wasn't doing a ton of threes. And I talked to Simon about this the other day, and he's like, threes aren't even a trick. And that's Simon talking. But I'm sure for your average rider, three's pretty awesome.
Oh man, I love a good 360. A 360 is like one of my favorite things to do. It always feels good. Like, it's so good, man.
And if you can nose in on a landing on a 3, it's like, come on, that's still a pretty awesome trick, I'd say, for sure. And so that was two of my highlights was at Cox, highlight and a low light at least.
Yeah, love it. That's so rad. When it comes to backyard trails, though, obviously we talked about Ryan's trails and whatnot, and you actually had a set of backyard trails for a while, which I actually did not know until literally you had sent me some notes for this. So what's up with these backyard trails? Unfortunately, I believe they're gone. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think they're gone. You know, they were in South Mississauga. You know, my parents moved from there. I don't know if it was like 10 or 15 years ago now, or probably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But I was lucky enough to have a little ravine in the backyard, and, you know, my parents supported me enough to let me build some jumps. Again, going back to like my cousin Mitchie, his friends in the States all had, you know, there was 2 of his friends had backyard trails. They had more land there, I guess. And so it wasn't that, you know, crazy of a thing. But you start small. You start with like some trails in the backyard, and then you put a little jump in, and then everything kind of slowly gets bigger over the years. You add some landings. And that's how I started to get into BMX more seriously, was just from building trails. And I always said that the trails were like 90% building, you know, and fixing and maintaining them, and 10% riding. Because you know, I was out there by myself a lot of the time, and that's, you know, kind of formulated some of the, I don't know, just my position in BMX was always a little bit more solo, and there was really not a lot of people that were riding with me. They were kind of gnarly. They were downhill. There was tons of trees, so you had to really pick the line. I always said there was a 10-degree margin of error.
Yeah.
So if you went off the line like more than 10 degrees, you were basically smoking a tree. You know, I had a few collisions with trees over the years, and there just wasn't a lot of takers. You know, some guys would come down from the Meadowvale crew now and again, and that was more so in the, you know, second half of, you know, the trail's life. So we'd have like, you know, Mike Pose, Dave Thomas, Dave Bishop, shout out to those guys. They would come down and you know, ride here and there. And then I had this other kid in my neighborhood named Julian. He was a super talented natural rider, and he would just come once in a while, throw a huge tabletop, you know, on a sketchy, you know, his bike was always like super rattly, rickety.
Yeah.
But he was just like a good rider, you know, he was natural and he could get through the jumps every time.
Dude, that's wild.
But yeah, we had water, you know, it was my backyard, so I didn't have to worry too much about, you know, just kind of keeping the neighbors happy. That was about it.
Yeah. Dude, I think the crazy thing is like just having trails with, you know, that super weird, not sketchy, but like gnarly feature, right? Like even at the Step Up in Kitchener, when we were, you know, riding there a ton, there was this first jump that you had to hit. And basically, as you rolled up to it, you couldn't see the landing. And it's not a huge jump by any means. It's only like, I think 2 bike lengths and maybe a 2 or 3 foot drop. But there's a gap, obviously. And you can't just roll through the gap because there's a bunch of tree roots. It's super sketchy. And when you land, you go directly into a 1.5 foot tall berm that curves off to the right. So like when you land, you are really going through there, you know? And then you're hitting full speed to hit this one big jump. And that was enough to stop so many people from riding there. Like the jump itself, they had always called it the decider jump. And it was not the fact that the jump itself, like, you know, decided whether you went right or left because there was 2 lines. It was the fact that it decided whether you were going to hit the jumps at all, because
a filter, basically.
That's the thing. And like, it was something that would filter out all the people that couldn't ride it. And there were so many dudes, like even my buddy Eric, who like, you know, he's not a trail rider by any means, but like he's a confident rider who could ride stuff. He would not hit those jumps at all. Like he tried to drop in from the lander of the decider and just pedal his 25.9 ass at the jump.
Not happening.
Could not get up it. Like, and that's the thing, right? Like it's a huge lip. You have to hit that jump into it to actually get speed for it. And that was like, dude, congrats to Brad for figuring that out, because that was the move, right? That stopped so many people that didn't know what they were doing from even riding that jump at all.
I think that's true for a lot of trails. You almost had to hit everything perfectly, and you know, there wasn't a lot of margin for error, and it was just, you had to flow the whole line. Yeah, and it's hard.
Definitely,
it definitely separates
the men from the boys,
kinda, in some regards, and it's scary. Like, you have to clear a gap. You don't want to nose bonk the landing. You know, we had some funny stories, man. Honestly, I had some of my friends who were, you know, pretty tough guys, you know, from some of my different circles of friends, come out and they would be like, all right, I'm hitting this jump, you know, I'm just gonna do it, and they would just eat shit, like just destroy themselves. Yeah, you know, nose bonk the landing, sprocket chunk the landing, just get thrown over the handlebars, down the landing, body toss. I had at least three guys I can think of or more who were pretty tough characters just get worked in the backyard. Yeah, and they're trying to show off, they're trying to be cool. It's like, yeah, do it. I'm egging them on, and they just got destroyed, like injured.
Oh my God, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I feel like it's something that I don't know if this is true or not, but I feel like in the past 15 years, being like a trail rider is so much different now because it's not like a lot of people can hit dirt jumps. There's so many people, like a very high percentage of BMX riders that will not hit a dirt jump with a gap in between it because it just sketches them out, you know? And I don't know, it's one of those things that like I always at least try or like I'll attempt it or I'll work my way into it. But dude, I know so many people that like they will not ride trails at all. And that's the thing that's keeping them back is it's like, well, you can hit this. Like you can hit a box jump that's a 12-foot box jump, but you don't want to hit this 6-foot gap on a trails. Like it's so weird, right?
Yeah, and I don't know what it is. It's yeah, you have to have the right speed. You got to commit to it. Yeah, you may have to go over a gap, and then you got to land, almost perfectly.
Yeah.
But yeah, there wasn't a lot of takers, and I remember, some of my friends growing up, we'd ride mountain bikes over the jumps, but then as soon as I put a landing with a gap, they stopped coming out. They stopped hitting them, and it was just me, basically, in the backyard. I'd ride by myself a lot.
I feel like you still do quite a bit.
Yeah. Like I'll just go out and I can't wait around for other people with my schedule. So I'll just go out whenever I can and I'll just link up with who's ever there.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is. But yeah, I kind of grew up I was always a bit of a lone wolf. And I remember going like, I'd be by myself in the backyard, this is before cell phones, I'd be like, all right, well, I want to hit the big set today. And it was, pretty big landing. You had to nosedive in on it. And I always remember being a little bit sketched out by it because, you're by yourself. And, there wasn't, you might get picked up and, in the dark in the woods later. But I was pretty lucky and I never went too crazy. And that was probably always why I was somewhat reserved on the bike. I never really went too crazy. And maybe that was partially because, I rode by myself so frequently.
Yeah.
I remember riding street by myself in Port Credit. And, it was an outlet for, a lot of feelings and, you're young and you're going through a lot of stuff. And I remember I used to take my emotions out on my bike and I just, shred.
Right.
And I remember breaking my wrist riding street by myself.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh man, like
now what?
Yeah. I gotta pick up the phone, go to a payphone.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, call my dad. Hey, I don't even know how I got home. But yeah, I always had support, from family and friends and things like that. And, from some people in the riding community. But overall, a lot of the stuff I did, I was solo.
Yeah.
So
damn.
Yeah.
That's wild, man. Yeah, solo riding is always like, I don't know, man. There's certain days that I really enjoy it, right? Like, I feel like a lot of the time, whenever I solo ride, it's like just headphones in, and it's just street, or it's just like riding around and hitting stuff, just even riding curb cuts and like doing peg changers and, maybe doing like a feeble 180 or just easier stuff, but like just going out and kind of enjoying it for what it really is rather than like going out to the park, and just like throwing in headphones. Cause I don't do that. Like when I'm at the park, headphones are out. It's all about like, everybody else basically. Like I want to be there and really truly experience it with everybody. Whereas like solo riding, headphones are in and it helps bring so much more to I don't know, just riding, I guess. I'm a huge like music fan though. Like music has always been such a huge thing for me that like
definitely
it plays such a crucial part in my life, like how I, perceive things even, which is wild.
Yeah, and that's a whole other topic altogether.
Yeah.
Music. Maybe save that for another time.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
I feel you on that. Like music is such a huge part in my life. And, if you look at some of the video parts over the years, it's just made so much better with the song choice and it just sticks in your mind. But yeah, in terms of like, the social aspect, or the last time I saw you at the Kitchener Park, that was so rad because I came out, I was by myself, but then when I got there, like everyone was there at the park, all these faces I hadn't seen in so long.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is rad. Everybody's here today. And, I kind of got to hang out and like, you know, see some people I haven't seen in a while, and that was rad. But yeah, a lot of the times I'll go out and it's just, all right, I've got an hour and I'm going to go out my front door. And it's like the simplest way, you know, you just put your shoes on, put your helmet on, ride out your front door. And that's a lot of the stuff I ride now is just like basic street stuff. And
Yeah, there's a ton of good stuff around you, though. You know?
Yeah, there really is a lot of spots. And I'm not a huge street guy, obviously, but there's so many spots that could just be massive for some guys.
Dude, a good bank is always incredible, and there's so many great banks near you.
Around us. Yeah, so, but yeah, and then even with mountain biking, you know, I'll touch on that a little bit. Most of the mountain biking I've done over the years, it's like, all right, I've got 2 hours, you know, and I've got a lot of stuff on my schedule, so I don't even want to put other people like, okay, I'll be there in a half an hour because I'll be late. Or something will come up. So most of the riding I've done over the years, even on the mountain bike, has been solo. And I, you know, haven't ridden the hydro cut too much lately. But when I go out there, it would be like,
who am I going to run into? Who am I, you know?
Well, last time I ran into John Heaton, and that was awesome.
Wild.
That was super rad treat for me. I was just like, I pulled up to the trailhead, and then there's John sitting there, and I'm just like, all right, got to ride with him for a bit.
That's wild.
But most of the time over the years riding, like I would just go by myself, and then I'd always try to do like a time trial. I'd do the whole trails and I'd time it, you know, GPS, Strava, Nerd, whatever.
Yeah.
But I was by myself and it's like, all right, you know, I guess if I crash, someone's going to come up behind me at some point. But, you know, it was just the circumstances and the timing and the schedule and stuff like that. It just kind of led to a lot of solo.
Definitely.
missions.
Now, we were just chatting a little bit about mountain biking, and I was interested on what got you into mountain biking, especially because you said that you had started mountain biking before BMX.
Yeah, I guess my brother was into it. You know, it was just more attainable. Like it was just, you know, we rode some trails, got into it. Again, my cousin was into it in the States, and they got into BMX eventually. But yeah, I had a nice mountain bike, and it took a back seat for probably 5, 6, 7 years, you know, when BMX took over. And then, you know, I got more so into it since, I don't know, ever since I came to the hydro cut. Actually, when I moved to Kitchener, I came out, I did a trail day at the hydro cut, and that was the first time I met Igor.
Yeah.
And I went to the trails just to help out, to check it out, whatever. And I was like, these trails are awesome. I have to buy a mountain bike. So I bought a bike specifically to ride those trails.
Damn.
And then I got back into it. And yeah.
That's wild, man.
Just seeing those trails. And then that was all I rode exclusively for a number of years was the hydro cut. And then I invested a fair bit of money into that titanium bike. So I'm like, all right, like I'm into it.
Yeah,
I'm getting
definitely.
A bike. This is sick. You know, it's good. It's good cross training. Anyone that is into BMX, I would say give mountain biking a shot, because the skills you learn in BMX just translates really well over into
mountain biking.
Yeah, and you know, I was talking to Simon about this the other day. It's just like it's much easier to go from BMX to mountain biking than it would be from mountain biking or road biking into BMX. You know, learning the bike control and the skills and the kind of the power in BMX just really helped a lot in mountain biking. And it was good to get back into it because I just felt kind of natural on it. I felt more skilled on a mountain bike than I'd ever did on a BMX.
Wild,
you know what I
man.
mean?
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, I'm better at mountain biking, even though I'm like not super fit necessarily or super fast, but it's just like,
I feel like as a BMX
easier.
rider, though, you get so much bike control from doing that like it translates really easily into mountain biking. And I don't know that for sure, to be honest with you, but when I used to do a lot of solo road riding at night, like, I don't know, man, I felt really good just to be on a bigger bike and be able to control that thing so easily. And like, I don't know, I definitely, when I was into that, I would Strava everything, and like, I was going quick. Like that was my thing. Like I wanted to, instead of, you know, being able to do 150 kilometers, I wanted to be able to do 30, but extremely fast. That was my thing. Like just ride all through town as fast as you could. And at one point I managed to hit 87.3 on that road bike, like down Fisher Hallman, down a hill, just
That's
so
fast,
sketchy in the bike lane, like passing cars going full speed.
Oh man.
Yeah. And that was like,
That's
man,
fast.
those like years that I did that, it was a lot of fun. And I think it translated to BMX and, you know, the other way around as well. Like being on that kind of big of a bike and going that fast, it does help, man. Like when you're going at something in BMX, you're willing to go a little bit faster.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of the time when you're on a BMX bike, it's like always risky. There's like always risk associated with BMX. And then it's like mountain biking, you know, a lot of the time it's pretty benign. So you're more comfortable to turn it up and maybe add a little bit more risk.
Definitely.
Because you're used to it.
Yeah.
You know, you're used to that little bit of danger, a little bit of risk, and you're comfortable with, you know, with that feeling.
Yeah, definitely, man.
You know, where I'm at with my riding now is I still want to ride and I still want to enjoy myself, but things are more of a calculated risk right now for me.
Yeah.
And that's always how my riding's been. I feel like it's been somewhat calculated in terms of risk and reward. You have to look at these things and say, you know, what satisfaction am I going to get out of trying this or landing it, and how challenging is it going to be? You know, what level of danger is associated with trying to pull this off, right? But yeah, I've had a few incidents for sure that have led to hospital visits or broken bikes. Yeah,
I think that's a big part of BMX though. You know, like I definitely feel like if you haven't been sent to the hospital on your bike before, you're probably not doing it right.
No, you're not trying hard enough. And, so one party stunt, I'll tell you. Yeah, the backyard trails. So we used to have, you know, a few people over here and there, and summertime get, you know, have a little jam. And again, I'd be like, all right, well, this is rare for me where people are here. So I want to try to show off a little bit and maybe, you know, impress some people. And then, you know, I don't know what age this was, you know, probably early 20s. So we'd have a few Coronas going, and the 360 was always like a larger trick in the backyard, especially with the trees. And I remember just, all right, I'm going to 3. And this one particular time, my foot I just got sent off the jump.
Oh, man.
Foot landed, like got stuck in the frame. And I just like, it was just an awkward spin. And I just ended up landing with my foot in the frame, and it was enough to just like snap my toe out of the socket and just like pop, just like
rough.
And I'm like, all right, you know, I couldn't even walk out of the trails. Like it was that much pain. My toe was just like popped out of the socket.
Yeah.
Brad, you remember that? And you know, it was whatever, 7:00 at night, and I'm looking at my watch. I'm like, I'm supposed to be having a party tonight. Like people are coming over, you know. And then I got girls showing up and people rolling in, and they're just like, hey, yeah, Chris, yeah, it's party time. And I'm just like sitting on my patio, just like in agony, just like, oh, like head down, like, all right, trying to hold it together. I'm like, yeah, kind of feeling it right now. You know, I think I don't even know what happened. I had to go to the hospital, obviously.
Yeah.
I think the party probably didn't get off the ground too far, but yeah, man, BMX is, you know, it's a risky sport. It is. There's some risk and some danger associated with it, and if you're not careful, you're gonna get bit.
Oh man, absolutely. And it's like, even if you are careful, you're still gonna get hurt at some point, right? It's kind of it's something that no matter what is gonna happen. Like it's just part of it, right?
I don't know if you've seen any of this RedBull Rampage stuff. It's happening this weekend.
Dude. Wild.
It's
Brandon,
insane.
did you see any of the stuff of Brendan Semenok?
Like from this weekend? Or
Yeah.
I haven't seen much. I just saw a couple like crashes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So for anybody who is unfamiliar with RedBull Rampage, I am telling you, you have to go and look this stuff up, because this is the craziest style of biking ever.
Yeah,
like
biking straight up.
There is nothing within 2 wheels, you know, cycling that is crazier than RedBull Rampage. No. They're doing, you know, the craziest drops. Like I remember years ago, Cam Zink doing backflips down like 60-foot step downs.
Yeah, they're like jumping off the
what?
side of mountains
Yeah.
onto, huge landings.
So the whole point of like RedBull Rampage is basically that, all these pro riders show up about a week beforehand and you're in Utah and you just go to the top of like these crazy sand mountain, crazy things in Utah and you just start building your lines. That's the thing. You have to figure out what you're going to build to get down the hill, right? And then after that, you got to figure out a run and a line and everything else in there. And dude, Brandon Semenok showed up this weekend, and he is, I think, the first person to ever ride RedBull Rampage with a single crown fork. And that opens up everything, man. He was tricking it like it's just an average box jump or whatever. Like, he literally did a bar down this ridiculous gap, and then he tail whipped down this step down. And then on top of that, he ended his run off with a flip whip. I'm
Really?
like, the first ever flip whip and the first ever tail whip on the RedBull Rampage course. Like, what the hell, man?
Yeah,
That
I didn't
is
even
so
realize
wild.
that because it's all like full downhill bikes
Yeah, it's
to
all
ride that
double
course.
crown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. So you probably didn't see a lot of tail whips before now, eh?
Never. That's the thing. Like, the announcers are literally saying in the run, they're like, this is the first time we've ever seen this. This is RedBull Rampage history. And then the next trick is a backflip tail whip over this massive gap.
The stuff that I saw today was just like one crash and you are going to the hospital. And
Oh, dude.
it was devastating. I'm just like, I don't know. And that ties back into some of the other stuff I've always thought about with BMX. It's like risk versus reward. And then I wonder, it's like, how much are these guys getting paid to do this? Because I don't know. I know it's satisfying and to pull some of the stuff, but like these guys are risking a lot.
I'll tell you this. Big money.
I hope so.
Money, dude. Think about like some of the sponsors that they have, right?
Yeah.
And even if you think about like, Canadian BMX rider Drew Bezanson, BMX superstar. He was getting paid from Toyota. He's getting paid from Red Bull. He's getting paid from DK and all these other companies and literally anything else that he has on there. Like a lot of these companies will pay big money, man. Like
they deserve it.
Yeah, absolutely.
They deserve it. And
yeah.
I think that the skill and the dedication and the risk that so many of these athletes, BMX and mountain biking are putting forward, it fully deserves to, these guys should all be making six figures.
Yeah.
Or more.
Absolutely.
To do what they're doing. And, it's kind of been a theme in BMX where it's like, look at street riding, and it's so hard to kind of market that almost to bigger companies. It's like, okay, well, I'm riding street. How do you sponsor someone for street, and how do you make tons of money off that? And that's obviously not what the sport's all about. But at the same time, guys are risking a lot for the sport, and I hope that they're seeing something in return for that.
Absolutely. I always I don't know, I see it all the time, and this is something that Brant Moore and I had a great conversation about, was just getting money from outside the industry and bringing it in. A lot of people will claim that you're now a sellout, and I don't think that that's the case at all. And Brant made some really good points about it as well, considering that his main thing is that he's a BMX YouTuber. Like, he makes a good portion of his income from YouTube. Not all of it, but a good portion of it. And, from ad deals and whatnot. But all that money is now being brought back into BMX, right? Somebody from the industry is getting paid. And when you see people like Brad Sims, I believe it was, getting on Adidas, like,
yeah, that's great.
So wild, right?
Yeah.
And there were so many people that instantly were like, oh, he's a sellout, all this stuff. But man, he has put so much into BMX over the past 15 years to even be noticed. And now all of a sudden, when he's blowing up and he's like got more followers on Instagram than some BMX outlets, which is like their main job, to show everybody what's happening in BMX with the top people in the world. And this guy has more people interested in him. Like, obviously he should be getting paid, right? This guy's putting everything on the line. He is constantly like progressing and pushing the scene. And that's a lot of people, right? And it's unfortunate that some of these people just go under the radar. Like there's a dude who just pulled the first 1440 in BMX, and I feel bad because I can't think of his name. I cannot. He's not a big name pro. He's just a dude who put out an edit, and he did the first 1440 on a BMX bike.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if was not Todd Main or...
No, he tried it years ago, but never pulled it. This was just a random dude who was inspired by that clip of Todd trying to do it over a resi and managed to pull it off. He had to go back twice, I think, to get it, and it was a huge jump. Ridiculous, right? Like, to bring it into BMX would be... Or sorry, it is BMX, but to bring it to, like, BMX-sized jumps would be insane. Like...
Yeah, but to go back to what you're saying, like, Brad Sims, he's a different example almost, because he's like almost the extreme of, you know, especially with what's happened with him over the last year, you know, with sponsorship and, you know, him valuing his own personal worth and what he brings to the sport and what he brings to the table. He knows how much he's worth, and he knows what, you know, he should be getting paid.
Which is good. I think more people should be following Brad and learning what he's doing, because he's getting what he deserves, right? There's a lot of people that, you know, I'm probably going to get some DMs about that. Like, oh, no, he's not, you know, you shouldn't have said that. That's stupid.
Yeah,
but
no, too bad, because, dude, you know, that's unfortunately some of the mentality that still is in BMX is like, oh, you're a sellout for doing this and that. And it's like that sort of mindset, that small-minded thinking is what has kept BMX from progressing, you know, for years. And it's like, okay, you can have fun hanging out in the street all day long, and, you know, what are you bringing to the table at the end of the day? Like, you know, how is this going to help our sport, you know, beyond what you're contributing to, you know, the progression of riding, for example? But, you know, what more is it doing? And I don't know. I think that the more exposure the sport gets on a mainstream level, and the more sponsorship dollars that come in, that's only going to help the sport. You know, the same thing could be said for the Olympics.
Absolutely.
It's like, oh, you know, it's a sellout. This isn't what real BMX is all about. And it's like, okay, well, maybe not, you know, the most popular form of BMX, and maybe it's not, you know, not everyone's blasting 20-foot box jumps for sure, but, you know, at the same time, it's bringing it to more people, and BMX needs more of that. You know what I mean?
Dude, I personally think the Olympics is doing so much for BMX, and we should really pay attention to it a little bit more, especially because it is so widely televised and everybody knows about the Olympics. That's something that's universally known by everybody, right? And to see that BMX is now a big part of it is pretty wild, man. And like, you know, watching Logan Martin just destroy that course, getting gold and all that stuff. Like, I know that I've even pushed some hate towards people that are, you know, considered like whip bar riders, where everything is like, you know, tail whip, bar, spin, spin.
A little too much.
Yeah. And it's all like, you know, it's almost too robotic because it's just done perfectly. But that takes a whole lot of dedication to the point on where you can do, you know, a triple tail whip or even a front bike flip consistently over anything. And to see him get gold is huge. And then the women's BMX at the Olympics this year was by far the best BMX event that has happened in years, man. Like, it was so wild. And to see everybody just kill it and like push the scene so far is incredible, man. Like, it was seriously so rad. And kind of the point that I wanted to make here is just the fact that I think a lot of people are going to get into BMX from that, right? It's just going to bring more money into here because there's going to be kids who see all this stuff on TV of people riding in the Olympics and say, whoa, like that was insane. You know, like, how does this stuff happen? I want to be involved in this. And then they're going to go down to their local shop. They're going to pick up a bike. Maybe they ride for a year. Maybe they ride for 10. But that's just more people getting involved, and that is more people putting money into what we love so much, and it's going to provide more pros with income. There's nothing bad about being at BMX being in the Olympics, in my opinion.
Yeah, and we could talk about this more, but you know, I will say, from the television aspect, it was pretty bad.
They'll figure it out.
I recorded it and
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, all right, I'm gonna watch this. And it was like 20 minutes or something. It was super short. They showed like 5 runs, and I was like, I want to see the whole contest. I want to see, the 10th place riders. I think they only had 9 people per, or like,
Yeah,
9 men and 9
we didn't
women.
even have a Canadian team, dude.
So
like,
it could have been done better, obviously. And then the television was really bad. I don't think they showed the entire run. I think they just showed like half of it, and it was, and then Logan Martin won. I don't know what you think about that. I think that the 3rd place rider, Declan Brooks from the UK, I thought he killed it. That was awesome. But, I don't care. Yeah, Daniel Dares and 2nd place. It's like, okay, a 360 tail whip. I've seen that 100 times. And then, Logan Martin, he did triple tail whip both ways. Okay, that's cool and everything. But, I kind of thought the 3rd place guy deserved to win. Won't get into too much of that detail. But if you look at the UK team, so the 3rd place rider from the men's and the 1st place rider from the women's, Charlotte Worthington.
Yep. That
was like an upset win. And she pulled that 360 backflip. That was super awesome. And if you look at what those medals have done for their careers now and where they're at, going home, the reception they've got in the UK has been amazing.
Dude, incredible. And there's even, Hannah Roberts, who came in 2nd for the ladies. She ended up having multiple huge posters, like building size posters across 4 buildings. And it's wild to see that stuff, right? Like, just to have that kind of, that exposure and that, whole thing behind it is wild. And obviously, this is the first time they're doing it, so they still got to work out the kinks and the quirks and whatnot. And I'm sure that next time will be a little bit better, I hope. But overall, I think we're also very lucky for the way that things are put within BMX, because most things you can watch on YouTube immediately. You don't have to record it on a DVR or whatever. Like, it's we're pretty lucky where like we get the best of the best with our BMX, Dig, and Ride UK, and any other big BMX media. Like, they know what they're filming, they know what to film, they know how to film it, they know like what's important and what's not. And I think that would help a lot. But also with the Olympics, sorry, just to keep going here, but a lot of judges were in there too, man. Like Brian Shakinski, he was there. He did a Reuben wall ride at the Olympics, which I think is incredible.
I think Doyle was there.
Yeah, Doyle was there. Van Homan had a huge part in that.
That's like who you want.
Yeah, all those dudes, man, they had a big crew of like people who know what they're doing, and that's huge, right? All those people are getting paid. They're all getting a paycheck from this, and that's big, man. Like
Rob Darden, he was in there.
Yeah,
so you have the right recipe, and I think it was a great start. Mm-hmm. And if you look at what that's going to do for the sports, it's unfortunate that Canadians didn't have any spot there, but I think, if you look at what it's going to do in the UK, I think that they're going to put a whole bunch of money into some event series and things like that. And that's kind of what BMX needs, is it needs a more structured environment and, method to demonstrate your skills and to progress. And, if you had like a contest series that was, province wide, or, that would be a great way to kind of, legitimize BMX. And it sounds like that's what they're going to do in the UK. I haven't read too much about it, but I read that they're going to be doing, some sponsorship or some, government dollars going into a contest series and facilities. That's ultimately what you want.
Absolutely, man. And the UK kills it. Like some of the parks that they have for like indoor parks there blow me away. And I know that's the same thing for them, man. They look at some of the Canadian parks and even North American parks and they think, wow, what would it be like to have a place like Ray's or Joyride or the Wheel Mill or any of these big skate parks, right? And it's the same thing. We look at the UK and we're like, whoa, what would it be like to have Ramp Works and Adrenaline Alley or, the Source or even Prevail, which is like, dude, all those places are so wild. And
The UK has been a huge source of BMX, and my family's. I think my parents are flying there right now, actually.
Nice.
My dad's British, and anyways, the side bit, but it's been a huge. I think the UK and the United States have probably been, two of the biggest countries for BMX over the years, and like I said, that was kind of what I grew up watching. Was the UK and Pennsylvania and New York and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's always been some of my inspiration for riding has come from the UK and some of their spots and their riders and their styles, that kind of thing.
Yeah, they definitely have a big list of riders, man, that are just so unbelievably good and progressive and, push the scene. And I've always felt like they definitely have like an insane scene there where people are just so good and they're always like so about it, like even some of the locals that I've talked to from, the UK, Scotland, Ireland, any of those dudes, man, they all kill it. They're all unreal and they all love it so much. Not to say that, Canadians, North Americans, or anybody else on the planet doesn't, but I definitely think that they, speaks.
I got to get over the pond.
Yeah.
I gotta go. I was there as a kid, but I don't remember it. I was too young.
Yeah.
So I got to go back and, in terms of the facilities in the UK, if we go back to some pump tracks, they are just light years ahead of North America. The tracks that these guys are building out there, they've got several companies that are doing top-notch work. And I look at their stuff and I'm just like, wow, like they're in every city, they're super widespread. They're doing tons of tracks all the time, super high quality. And it's like, wow, these guys are, they're ahead of the game.
Definitely, man. And while we're on the topic of pump tracks, let's talk a little bit about Transitions, which is your company that builds BMX pump tracks. And what I love about this is that you guys mainly specialize in doing asphalt pump tracks, and just to see these things really start becoming big, and pretty much everywhere that you go now has the idea of doing them. And I don't know, man, they are rad to ride. They're super fun. They're good for any skill level, and they help with bike control so much, right? Especially when you get really good and you're able to kind of fly through those corners really quick. I know that you guys helped with Stratford Park, did you not?
Stratford was, I think, the second track we built. So
yeah.
We did the design and the construction of that track.
Dude, it was super good. I gotta say, man, like the last feature, which is a hip, but it's almost like a rolled hip, is so perfect, man. It's great for people that maybe are just learning and they just want to start to kind of flow it out. And then it's good for people like me who, I downside whipped that and it felt incredible.
That's awesome,
like,
man.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, we, one of the things I like about that track was we kept all the existing trees.
Yeah.
And then we kind of weave the design, around the existing features of the park, so it fits into the site quite nicely. But that was one of the first tracks that we built. And yeah, if you want to talk about pump tracks, for sure, it's pretty new phenomenon in North America, I'd say. I think they're maybe 5 years old. We've kind of learned from a bit of trial and error. We've looked for a lot of inspiration from some of the other companies, in Europe that have invented the sport. So, hats off to them for kind of bringing this to the table. And I've, like I said, I was always a BMX dirt guy, but I saw the potential for pump tracks. If you look at some of the reservations people have about BMX parks and stuff, is the maintenance, the risk, just even building it. And if you have a pump track now, your maintenance is so greatly reduced. The level of risk is way lower. You're pretty much on the ground most of the time. You're not hitting big jumps, catching, 9 feet of air. Over a 6-foot double or something like that with a gap in the middle. So in terms of the risk management for municipalities, it's a lot easier to stomach. You can basically have all skill levels riding it, beginner, intermediate, advanced, all ages. It's more family friendly. So I kind of realized pretty early on that this could be a big thing for BMX and mountain biking and all the other disciplines, skateboarding and scooters as well. Like they can ride the tracks, but we tried to jump on it pretty quickly and figure out what works. And I feel like we have a pretty good product now. It's, we've improved it over the years, and we want to make each park better. But in terms of what municipalities are doing, they can look at that and say, we want to have one of these tracks. It could complement our skate parks. I just did a presentation a couple of weeks ago to this Communities in Bloom group, and it's like, oh yeah, we want you to talk about BMX and pump tracks, and it's like, okay. So now it's becoming more mainstream, and it's like, it's kind of crazy, like talking to a bunch of people about BMX and pump tracks, to where, it's gotten to this point. But that's kind of a high level thought on what we're doing with pump tracks. And, we try to combine a little bit of BMX trails to it. I think that's kind of our style of park is, a lot of berms, but then we have some jumps as well, so you can catch a little bit of air. It's not just all rollers.
Definitely. I think one of the things that I love about the Stratford pump track in general is just the fact that there is so many different transfers, jumps, berms, rollers, literally everything that you could want there. And I was trying to pull it up, but I can't find it. There's a dude who I've had on the show twice now. His name's Braden Hansen, and basically his whole thing is that he rides every single day. He's getting close to 1,000 days straight of riding in Canadian weather.
Nice.
So in the middle of the winter, this kid is out there ripping. And anyways, that dude is like, he has lines through that pump track that you guys did not envision.
Nice.
I'm telling you that right
awesome.
now. Yeah, like, you would be blown away if you saw this kid ride in this place. You would literally be like, wow, I never would have thought that would be possible there.
And that's the other thing with these tracks is that, you can ride them in so many different ways. There's the main line around the, the outside line or whatever, but then you've got all these hidden lines, you've got transfers. If you're there with only a few people, like there's a lot of options that can open up for
definitely
intermediate and advanced level riders. And that's one of the cool things about it. You don't want some basic easy track that's going to get boring after, a few visits to the park. So we've just completed a track in Regina, Saskatchewan.
Nice.
Just got back from there 10 days ago or so. We had a bit of a whirlwind trip out there. Simon Cox, main man, killing it out there, built the whole park up until couple days before paving, and then we had a bit of help from Matt Como and our buddy Nick Otram. He came out to help, so shout out to those guys. Big help.
Nick's incredible, man. I love Nick. That kid, he's like way older than me, and that dude is incredible, man. He's seriously like one of the nicest dudes. And he ended up giving me a deal on my full face helmet that I run, because he used to work at Eastside, obviously. That guy honestly is like, I wish he would come out and ride BMX more, because he used to come out quite a bit. And then
he was on Simon's bike last week. He's you could tell he wanted his 26, but he shreds, and he's been a huge help to us. So we've got a pretty good team, I think, and we're always looking for more help too. So
interesting to know that.
People should get in touch with us, because I've never really been huge into advertising what we're doing necessarily, or posting too much stuff on social media. I think our Facebook has the most stuff that we've posted, but our website's probably a little lacking. I've just been so busy, but I haven't really exposed it that much yet. So it's kind of been a slow growth, and pretty organic and stuff, I think. But we're gonna have more work, and we're always looking for people to help. So pay pretty well, and it's all legit. We've got $5 million of insurance.
Wow.
We've got a whole bunch of equipment now. Yeah, we're bidding on legit municipal projects with cities, with good sized budgets and kind of going through that whole process. Something I've kind of learned along the way, and it's basically like any other municipal project, but now we're doing it with bike tracks and bike parks and applying that recipe to this. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
Damn, man, that is wild. It's awesome to hear that you guys have progressed to this point. And I don't think we actually talked about how you kind of started out. So why don't you tell us just about, the very beginnings of transitions?
Sure, man. I'll try to keep it brief as possible. I would say that I started this company with a $20 shovel and a wheelbarrow, and eventually got a roller. So there was pretty organic. I started with my backyard trails, and the city of Mississauga I connected with fairly early on to help out with their situation with the unsanctioned trails being built in the woodlots. And the city would plow their trails and then go back and then do it again after the locals rebuilt them. So I kind of connected with them on a volunteer basis early on. And I got to thank Joanne Foote. She really basically took me under her wing. She, got some of the information I could provide about how to do these parks and how to build, features and jumps that the city would be able to be comfortable with. And she showed me how it would be possible to develop these kinds of facilities, from the municipal standpoint. So her and I worked together, and then we hooked up with, the guys in Meadowvale, and we started branching out. And then, I kind of started on a volunteer basis. And then eventually I got hooked up with Muskoka Woods.
Wow.
Through New Line Skate Parks and a contact I had there. Have a lot to thank to them because, they put me in touch with a few key people, and, basically just said they have an existing facility, they need to be worked on. So I was able to provide that service to them. And then it's like, all right, we start monetizing it. So our time is worth X amount of dollars, and this is what we need to do the project. So we started figuring it out, right? Like, you need equipment, you need material, you need, all the expenses that go along with that, all the traveling. And we basically just started putting it together that way. Really an organic growth. And I worked with a lot of good people along the way that helped out. It's never been just me. It's always been a crew and a team, to build these facilities, to bring them to life. Mm-hmm. So I've got a lot of people to thank over the years. Don't even know where to start, but Taro Sato, he helped out a lot during the early years. My good buddy Nick, and then guys like Jordan, even Craig, he helped me out a lot. Mm-hmm. Simon, recently, he's been a huge asset. Just learning so much about the way that these parks get built. People like Nick. And then recently working with guys like Matt Como. That guy was awesome. Just in terms of asphalt paving expertise. So we're kind of putting everything together, and just, coming together to bring these projects to reality. That's the long and short of it, I guess.
Love it, man. That is wicked.
Yeah.
It's honestly really cool to see how far you guys have come with this, and especially because it's like you guys are doing everything kind of like the professional, perfect way. Obviously, you're working with the city, and with your experience working with the city, it's awesome to see how great you guys are doing, because like you kind of in a way have an upper hand, right? Like, exactly what they want, how it's going to be done, and how even everything works within, like, city council and whatnot.
Yeah. So you know, working for the city over the years, you know, my previous jobs and whatnot, I was able to see behind the scenes about, okay, what is the municipality looking for? What is it going to take to get these projects approved, funded, built, maintained? You know, it's not just as easy as putting a shovel in the ground. So I've always been able to see both sides of it. And I feel like that's one of the things I've brought to the table is I understand what the BMXers are looking for, but then I also understand what the cities are looking for, you know, in terms of upkeep and risk management and operations. So, you know, I've just been able to speak both those languages where needed. So if I'm talking to the city, I'm going to talk to them a certain way. And if I'm talking to a BMX rider, then, you know, I'm going to talk to them
like a BMX rider.
A BMX rider. So
yeah,
that's one of the things I've brought to the table. And yeah, just over the years, just improving our craft. You know, we've made lots of mistakes along the way, and you know we've learned from them and done our best to correct and improve them. But yeah, every year just getting a little bit bigger, a little bit more legit. You know, we incorporated about 4 years ago, so that was a big step. You know, just to take the business from a small sole proprietorship into an actual corporation.
Right.
That was a pretty big step for us. And then, you know, just acquiring the right insurance was huge.
It's a big one for people that, you know, are within the skate park industry. Like I've had multiple chats with Jordan, you know, just privately about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it blows my mind, like how much goes into it, you know?
It really does. And Jordan knows exactly, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not just as simple as, you know, building a ramp, and you know how complex that is. Like,
Yeah.
the stuff Jordan's built has been
God.
amazing, but there's so much that goes behind the scenes to get to that point even.
Yeah.
You know, and the insurance is a big thing. And, you know, we've worked with different insurance companies over the years to kind of make sure that our insurance says we are building bike tracks and trails.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not doing landscape work and construction. So it's specific to what we're doing.
Which is awesome. Yeah. That's
So
what you
I
need.
feel like it's kind of, yeah, we've kind of improved over the years, and we've got some pretty serious equipment now. We bought a pretty sick excavator this year.
That's awesome.
On the last project we just did in Regina, it's like we had what do we have? 3 tampers, I guess. We had 3 plate tampers, and whatever was going on with the one, like our main packer just started running poorly, like as we're paving. It's like, what is going on with this tamper? And it just cut out. And it's like, okay, this is a problem.
Yeah.
Go to the rental shop real quick, bring back another tamper. We brought back 2 tampers. They're both like not quite what we need. So I went to a next rental shop. I'm like, okay, I need a tamper like right now. And then there's a perfect unit sitting on the showroom floor, exact model that we need, this Mikasa 14-inch plate tamper. I'm like, how much is that? Never even see these on the for sale anywhere.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, that's for sale. Our sales manager's not here right now. I can't sell it to you. And I'm just like, give me his business card. He's like, oh, he's on lunch right now. Call him up. I'm like, hey, I'm just at your shop. Let's make a deal on this tamper. You know,
Yeah.
pulled the trigger on it, no hesitation, brought it back to the boys. I'm like, okay, here's your tamper, boys. They're like, where'd you get that? I'm like, yeah, I just bought this.
That's wicked.
It was awesome. It was pretty cool to get that linked up, and, you know, just kind of being in the spot where you can do that. It's like, all right, you need something.
We can get it done. Yeah.
Because like the headache of not having something, or, you know, just being delayed it's just,
Yeah.
you can't put a dollar price tag on that. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. And we've got like a shipping container now, so we bring all our tools and our equipment, we ship it around to different job sites.
That's wicked.
So we don't need to like pack up a truck with tools anymore. We just
Show
put
up
it all in
and it's
this
there.
20-foot container. We put our skid steer in there, and, you know, we've got generators and all our equipment, and it's just shipped to the job site.
I love it. That's wicked, man.
Yeah, one of Simon's bright ideas.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, dude. Simon's killing it. Look at that. That's rad, man. It's really cool to hear
man.
just how, you know, far you guys have come. Good job, honestly.
yeah, thanks. We're still learning and still progressing, but yeah, we'll see what happens in 2022. It should be another good year, and more stuff happening.
Yeah. So normally we save the fan questions for last, but listener Spot the Looney, aka Scott Loist, who has an episode here. He's an avid skate park advocate. He is always trying to make sure that the community is doing better. He had sent in a question for you.
Cool.
So he said, what park projects have you been involved with, and what was your favorite park and why?
All right. Well, yeah, we've been involved with a whole bunch of different projects. Like this year, we were in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and we were also in a small town in Malahide Township, which is near Almer. That was what we've been doing this year. Also in Mississauga this year. I flew from Regina. I left the job site in Mississauga the same day and flew to Regina.
Wow.
The same day, like with 20 minutes to spare. It was crazy. And then we've been in, where else have we been this year? I think those were our 4 main spots. Apologies if I've forgotten anybody. We had a really good experience in Regina, Saskatchewan, which is our most recent track project. And I'd say that, you know, some of the things that came together there were, first of all, working with like a really good community. You know, the client there was just had their heart in the right place, and they wanted to create something for the community that was going to last and, you know, be enjoyable for a range of people. And the city was good to work with. You know, it's a really big effort on a lot of people's front. So when you have everybody working together and bringing something to the table, then that's when you're going to get the best possible product, I think. And yeah, they had a good sized budget, and you know, we were able to create a pretty big track that flows quite well. And the reception from the community throughout the whole thing has been, you know, they've just been stoked. Like all the riders there, you know, just really enthusiastic, positive, that kind of thing. So that's really what makes a project at the end of the day, I think.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm pulling up photos from your Regina project.
I haven't even posted anything yet. I'm still waiting on some drone footage, and Simon send me those photos, dude, because you know, it's not landscaped yet. It's going to be hydro seeded next. So that'll really look good once it's, you know, hydro seeded.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it takes about a year to really get the park looking good. Yeah, there's a picture of our client and then the community guy. There's Matt Como, Shredder.
Yeah, these are awesome, man. It's rad to see that you guys are putting in this much work and everything. Like, this is so good.
I haven't really even posted the final photos yet, which is overdue. But yeah, there's Simon.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got some drone footage. And that's the best way to capture these parks.
Oh man, it's perfect. Yeah.
And it's on my shopping list, I guess. But I just haven't had the opportunity to, I don't know. It'd be nice to have a little bit more time on these job sites. And then it's like, okay, let's get the drone up in the air and spend some time on that. But
there's some wicked drones out there for a pretty decent price, man. Like, they're so cheap now. You can get a good 1080 60, you know, drone for under $500 easy. Like, just depends on what you get, you know. Like,
yeah,
I feel like
there's no excuse,
dude. Like 5 years ago, drones were so in between, right? There's like your $100 drone that would work once, and then there's your like 8,000 drone that, you know, carries DSLR. Like, and that's, you don't need that. Like, you literally just need something that can like easily, you know, capture everything and save it. You can save it right to your phone, like directly, which is incredible.
Yeah, and that's really the best way to capture these things, because I feel like when you take a photo of our tracks, like, it's so hard to capture, you know, the scale and, you know, the shape and everything. If you have an aerial photo, then that's going to just do it way more justice, and you're really going to be able to kind of see the size of everything and, you know, just get a better understanding of what's actually going on.
Definitely.
It's really hard to take pictures of dirt as well.
Yeah.
You know, that's been one of the things over the years. It's like, okay, you'll finish a park, it'll look really good in person, but then it's like you take a photo of it and it's like, it's dirt. It doesn't really come across that well in photographs, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been meaning to get a good drone. I need one, man. Like,
Do some research, let me know, and
yeah, I will.
we'll see if we can get two for a little.
Yeah, I get
good
two for a
price.
little
Yeah,
decent
man.
price. That'd be sweet. Yeah, I've been meaning to get one. I want to use them for our skate park roulette videos and just anything else. Like, skate parks are such a good one for a drone. Like, you can get like an upper shot of it, just B-roll stuff in general, right? Like, I've always wanted a shot of my street jams where there's like 100 BMXers just mobbing down the street.
Yeah.
I've always wanted a drone shot of like above from
Yeah,
like
that
a
would be super
45.
awesome. You could really capture the
Man,
the scene.
yeah, it would be sick to do that. I've been wanting to do it for so long and just never really purchased one. So soon
It's on
enough.
the shopping list.
It is. It's
Yeah.
definitely on there. I have a big shopping list of stuff that I probably don't need, but I want. So,
And then I also just got to say, like the mountain bike stuff. I gotta thank Igor and Brian
of course,
and our
dude.
mountain bike guys, because again, we're not it's hard to, we're not posting a ton of stuff, but we're building some pretty cool trails right now at the Hockley Valley Resort in
Nice.
near Orangeville, and it's gonna be a pretty big project, like 10 kilometers when it's all finished.
Wow.
So it takes a while to get there. Like, to build 100 meters of trail takes, I don't know, a bunch of time.
yeah.
There's a lot that goes into each meter of trail, just to even lay it out and to conceive the idea and to plan the route. So I gotta thank those guys as well, because I think the mountain bike stuff that we're doing with the cross country trails is pretty awesome, and it's just as much potential and quality as some of the BMX stuff we're doing too. So yeah, the mountain bike stuff.
And it's no secret that mountain biking has a way bigger like clientele than BMXing does, right? Like, there's so many people that ride mountain bikes. Actually, I don't know if she'd be listening, but when Taylor and I went camping recently, we went up to Arrowhead, and 6 a.m, I cannot sleep anymore. I go out and I'm taking photos with my camera, and I just grabbed this random photo of these like ridiculously tall trees, and there's just this family walking underneath, right? So I send this girl the photo afterwards, and we get chatting, and I guess that she used to ride like mountain bikes like consistently. She used to race, and she was really into it. Dude, she was super cool. We had a conversation for like an hour and a half just in the middle of the road, just like so blown away by all the knowledge she had and whatnot. And yeah, she was super cool.
I think that what we're going with that is that it's more widespread.
Absolutely.
It's more diverse. It's there's way more age groups, male, female, different skill levels. And yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know, biking has just been so popular over the last 5 years, eh? It's just like, oh, biking is cool now. And it's like, yeah, where were you guys 15 years ago?
Dude, even in the past 2 years, right? Like, I think everybody knows about the COVID bike boom. Like, huge, man. A bunch of shops just ran out of bikes. Like, when has that ever happened?
I know. And that's the thing. People need a place to ride, and you don't really want to be riding on the road a lot because, you've got cars and curbs and all that. If you have a designated spot for trails or pump tracks, that's really what people want to be riding. They want to be riding in a designated spot. It's purpose built. It's maintained. It's relatively safe. And it's controlled. So I think that's what we're offering to a degree.
Definitely.
And, there is potential there because, that's what people want to ride. They want to ride their bike in the woods on a trail. And, the style of trails that we're building, that Igor's designing and Brian and him are implementing and our other guys, like, they're fun to ride at a variety of speeds. You can go slow, you can go super fast. It takes advantage of the landscape and the terrain and all that. So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully there's more trails, more closer trails for everyone to ride, and yeah, it's something for everybody.
Definitely, dude. I gotta ask, Brian King?
Brian King, yeah.
Dude, I used to work with him at King Street as well.
That's right. Yeah. So you would have seen him and Igor, and and yeah, that's
I'll be honest, he's not as fun as Igor. Igor was he's super cool.
Igor is a one of a kind character.
Oh
He's,
man,
holds
absolutely.
a special place in my heart, and yeah, I wouldn't be able to do this stuff without him and Brian as well.
Brian's
so.
pretty cool. I'm just pulling
right.
his leg, you
He's
know.
Right.
Yeah, man. So let me see what else we got on here. I want to make sure we hit everything because that's always the goal. Worst comes to worst, I just take stuff out later.
I gotta tell you about the bike we bought from King Street.
Dude, I want to hear about it.
Okay, so Igor, this guy's like, he's crazy.
Yeah,
He doesn't want to get paid in money.
he just wants
does.
bikes.
He does. But he's like, all right, I need a bike because he's living in Serbia most of the time. So we brought him into Canada to do this project. So we flew him here. And I don't know if he was going to bring a bike or what, because he's got bikes. But he's like, all right, well, I'm going to need a bike to do these trails. I'm like, yeah, of course, right? So I'm thinking, okay, let's get you set up with like a $2,000 mountain bike, something decent, hardtail, mid-level. And he's like, I can't ride a $2,000 mountain bike on these trails. This is not like my caliber. I'm going to look like a joke. I'm like, okay. So he's talking about getting a bike. And I go, and then he says, all right, I pulled a rabbit out of the hat. Andy at King Street hooked him up. It's this like super high end. It's not even top of the line. Carbon pivot. Really nice bike, I guess. And this bike's $7,000. So he'd rather take $7,000 bike to ride than to make $7,000 in wages, I guess. So,
Oh my god!
so I went and picked up this bike from Andy, and I'm like, all right, yeah, here's $7,000. It's for Igor. He's like, yeah, I've been waiting for you, and it was just, I thought he was crazy. I'm just like, dude, you could have had like a $2,000 mountain bike off Kijiji or something, like,
yeah,
or maybe we could have found something from King Street that was new for $3,000 or something like that. It's a pretty good bike. You're gonna get a pretty good bike for $3,000, but. So I went and delivered him this $7,000 mountain bike. I'm like, Igor, I got here. Grab me. Come over to my car and help me unload this wheelbarrow or something. And he comes over to my car and he just opened up the trunk. And, oh, there's your bike. He was all happy. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah, there it is.
I love it. Yeah, I saw that earlier and I was really pumped on that. Oh man,
nice bike, I guess.
Yeah, that's wild, man. I like that, it's like, oh yeah, Andy found him this awesome $7,000 bike. It's like Andy knows, man. Andy, he knows that Igor wants what he wants.
He wants the best. And then he said that the components, he wanted to switch them all out from Shimano to SRAM. And I'm just like, no, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Shimano XT, like, that's good enough.
You're
dude.
good. Yeah, you're fine.
Not switching those. Don't.
Do you want to pay for that?
I'm just like, yo, that's your bike.
Oh my god, that's wild. Oh man, that's so funny.
It's got expensive tastes in bikes.
Yeah, definitely. He always had a rad bike whenever he showed up to the shop. Like I
gotta
feel
have a
like
good bike.
Yeah, I've seen him all the time, and I feel like most of the time he always came on a different bike.
But that's like his third bike. He's got like 2 more high end mountain bikes, and I'm like, okay, well, and we even bought a fat bike too. So we bought a Norco, I don't know, fat bike. It's like mid level, just for testing and just for having it on site, but that wasn't nearly good enough. So it's like, all right, I need a race bike.
Dude, love it.
Yeah.
That is hilarious. Here's the real thing though. You guys don't have a United Caveman to test out all those pump tracks.
The built-in disaster guard.
Yeah, dude. Make sure that everything rolls over real nice. You're paying for it later.
That's a cool bike, man.
I love it. It's so good, man. It's so sick.
Is it the rooftop?
It is.
Yeah.
Mr. Rooftop even made fun of me because of my shoelaces to hold my brake cables.
I think I heard that on one of your podcasts. I remember you saying that.
Yeah. Oh man, I was so pumped on that. I'm gonna get a second one. I need another one. So I know Harvester has another frame in black. Probably shouldn't be telling the whole world that because now everybody's gonna go
Just
buy
snatch
it
it
on
up.
me.
Yeah,
But
you better go.
yeah, I'm gonna grab another one just because I want to make sure that once this one breaks, which it will at some point, all bikes break, that I have another one just ready to
Ready
go.
to go. Yeah, you gotta go pull the trigger on that then.
And then after that, once I'm all out of United frames, I'm going straight back to Cult because Cult always kills it, and Robbo is sick, and I love everything they're doing. But unfortunately, they just don't make a bash guard frame. So if they made a bash guard frame, I'd be on it immediately. Like that's what I want,
Definitely
too
happy
sick.
with my United, so yeah, made a good choice there.
Yeah, dude, shout out to Ian Morris because United, man, they're killing it all the time. Like
Dude's a
always good
legend.
stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
That guy's been around forever.
Dude. Yeah.
UK.
UK man, there you go. Oh, dude. Alrighty, so let's talk a little bit about the magazine that you were put into. I wanted to make sure that we brought this up because you brought a whole binder of stuff. So
yeah,
I know that you had an article or some photos or something in a magazine, and I was really interested in seeing this.
yeah, I'll show it to you. It's honestly, it was one of those opportunities that came up, and it was awesome, and I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be sweet, and it still was a good opportunity. The local bike shop through Gears, their owner was like, Chris, we want to come and do an article on BMX. I'm talking to this magazine, and we want to put you in it. I was stoked, right? And I thought there was a lot of potential in it, but then it came out, and then it was just like 4 pages of like pretty kooky photos.
Yeah.
And it was just the angles. You couldn't really see anything. Like it wasn't like shot by a BMX guy. And yeah, it was just funny, But you got like Jason Spezza in here. This is like, you got Jason Spezza back in the day before he was in the NHL.
Yeah.
Where's the BMX one? It's around here somewhere. It's kind of this sport magazine. It's in there somewhere. Hang on a second here.
Yeah, take your time.
There we go. But yeah, this is all shot on my backyard trails. And I just thought there was so much potential. And then I'm like, oh, these guys ruined it. Like, these photos are terrible.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Like,
yeah,
for the
funny,
same photos, they just like twisted them 90 degrees.
Yeah.
I was bummed.
It's funny how it's like, I don't know, you wouldn't do that nowadays, that's for sure, right? Like, I'll try and show these to the camera the best I can, but I might be taking photos of these later. That's a good profile photo. I like that.
Yeah.
Haro seat showing off the General
The
Lee.
Dave Mirra.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just built that frame up. That was pretty fresh.
This is really funny though, just with like literally what you were saying. The 3 photos all like
so
just
mad.
Turning. Like what the hell?
I remember just opening up the magazine and being like so excited, and then
just super bummed.
I was just
instantly.
like, no, what have you done? Like all the photos were so up close and you couldn't see the context. I was probably going fairly high, and I was just trying all this crazy stuff that I had no business doing. And you couldn't really, they made the jumps look terrible. It just wasn't a good look.
This photo here of the no-hander is super sick. I actually think that's a really good photo.
I didn't land it.
You didn't?
No. I had no business with suicide no-hander.
I see your foot off
My foot's
the
coming
pedal.
off, dude. I exploded.
Yeah. No. Other than the foot coming off the pedal, not bad. It looks like a great photo.
It was kooky and it had a lot of potential, but then, that's what happens when you get people that maybe aren't.
This X-Up's pretty sweet, too.
Yeah, it's not a good X-Up. Look at the...
I guess the arms are a little spread, eh? They need to be like...
They got to be locked up. And,
yeah.
And just like how close the photo was taken.
Yeah.
It just didn't look good. And you can see my pants getting gradually more shredded as the photo session progressed.
That is so funny.
I'll show you some more photos of the backyard trails after.
Dude, I was hoping to see them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be wicked.
But again, they were kind of hard to shoot, and I never really had. That was, I guess, one of the big things was, I never really had I don't know, any video or footage taken over the years. So
Yeah.
it was like, maybe before I'm too washed up, I want to get a video part
That'd be
together.
wicked.
But you can see how they started and then kind of some of the progression. And, this was all backyard stuff.
Dude, this is super sick. I love it. Yeah, these are really cool. I was looking online trying to see if I could find anything of your backyard trails. Or just like even like early Chris Dewar stuff.
No, there wasn't. Yeah, I was never good enough to be in the, in the main focus of riding in Southern Ontario. It was never my role really, and that was kind of, I probably didn't get taken seriously by a lot of the BMX community because I wasn't good enough. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, Dewar, whatever, he can do a couple things, but at the end of the day, he's not tail whipping anything.
Right.
He's not, he's not the best rider. And I always thought that was funny because, it's like your skill level in BMX doesn't necessarily determine your commitment to the sport or, what you bring to the table. It's like you might be the best possible BMX rider with the best style and skills, but you're not really bringing that much to the sport at the end of the day.
I'm not a good rider by any means. I put out a couple video parts and I worked my ass off on those parts, but
every time I see you ride, man, I'm impressed. I'm like, oh, damn, Cam's got some moves here, man. Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah. But I was going to say, like, I'm most notable for being a podcast host. I'm like, I am known for talking about BMX, not riding BMX, which is funny. Like,
yeah, and that's similar to, you're bringing something else to the table that, isn't necessarily riding, but it's contributing a lot, and there's a huge space for that, I think, and people owe you a lot of thanks. Like, you've brought a lot of knowledge and exposure to a lot of things that otherwise wouldn't be out there. So,
well, thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
No, that's why I wanted to. I was stoked to come on and have a chance to contribute something too. But
absolutely, man, this has been awesome. We're almost 3 hours in.
Oh my God, are we really?
Yeah, it's almost midnight.
Oh no,
I don't know what time you're supposed to go home, but we are not finished yet. Let me tell you that.
Okay, what else you got?
Oh man, so I really wanted to ask, and this is something that I've brought up with a lot of people who are BMX dads. What's it like getting your kids into riding? Because obviously, for you, BMX and just biking in general plays such a huge part in your life.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
So I've got two boys, two awesome little guys, Kieran and Calvin. And Kieran just turned 7 yesterday, and Cal's 3. So Kieran was riding a pedal bike at 3 years old.
Wow.
So before 3, like at 3, he was like confidently riding a 2-wheeler, never on training wheels. And he's kind of good at sports. He's kind of natural. Something I've never been natural at anything, to be honest.
Right.
I was, maybe mountain biking I was decent at, but he kind of picked it up, and I've taken him to the skate park, and I've taken him to the pump track a little bit, but to be honest, I don't know, like I'm not pushing it, and you'd think that maybe for how into BMX I am and, how much of an advocate I am for the sport, I'd maybe push them a little bit harder, but I don't know. I want to expose them to all kinds of different sports and activities, and whatever he's into is cool with me. I put my parents through hell over the years. It must suck like taking your kid to the hospital after they've broken whatever bone, doing some riding stunt. So I know that there's a certain amount of stress like with raising a BMX kid, and I don't know. It's if he wants to get into it, then that's great. But in terms of, I think that just getting him into cycling is maybe a little bit more of a priority for me right now. Just kind of general biking, control, safety, skills. He's got a pretty awesome bike. He's got a few pretty rad bikes, really.
Love it.
But yeah, I'm just not pushing it. I'm just gonna see what he wants to do, and if he wants to play golf or tennis or whatever the heck it might be. Basketball he's pretty good at, so we'll see.
Mhm. I love it, man. That's too sick. It's really cool to hear just, how into it you are, but how you're not going to push it on him. And Mike Aiken, actually, he talked a lot about that.
His son's into soccer, right?
Yeah.
Owen, yeah. I saw that on your podcast.
It's super cool, the fact that, you have literally like the best guy, and he's known for being the best guy, but yet he's not super pushy about his kids trying to follow in his footsteps. And I think that's a mainly thing in BMX. And growing up, man, I heard it all the time, because for people who know, my dad, he's a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
And for literally, like, still hear it all the time. Oh, your dad's a tattoo artist. Are you going to try and follow in his footsteps at all? Like, no, it's nothing against that. I love tattoos. I'm covered in tattoos.
You got
I literally, like, it is such a big part of my life, and growing up and really seeing everything about it, like, I'm really involved with it. I love it, but I'm not an artist, in my opinion at all. Like, maybe for doing videos or photos, but I don't really claim that to be an artist. Like, what he does is so beyond what I can do when it comes to like artwork and like drawing or anything. Like, I honestly have a hard time writing my name. I have dyslexia. I'm not good with a pen at all. That's why I use computers for everything. Like, it's just one of those things that it's funny that that's how it goes, right? My sister more or less got that from him. She's always painting. She's always doing, artsy stuff. Whereas for me, like, I would much rather just sit here and have a conversation or film something or try and get my vision out through like film or, video, because it means more to me in that way.
And it was Wayne's your dad, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I drive past the shop all the time. If I ever get a tat, I'm gonna have to stop in.
Dude, let me know.
I
I'll come
remember
with you.
seeing his podcast that you did with him.
Yeah.
At least I
gotta have him back on, man. I've been meaning to do it. I rarely get to see him anymore, just because we're both busy. We're both adults at this point. But like, for years, man, my favorite thing was just going and sitting down with him and playing video games or just chatting, right? Like,
yeah,
he's such an inspirational dude.
I saw that the podcast you did with him, and that was pretty rad. And going back to your point, like, I don't know, I think that if you have a genuine interest in what your parents do, then great. And if you're good at it, but I think if you look at some musicians or celebrities, and then their kid does the exact same thing, especially like musicians, it's like, okay, your kid is now got a record deal, and it's like, okay, is your kid really that good where he got his own record deal, or did you help him along the way? And I don't know, it's somewhat weird to me unless there's like a real natural talent to do exact same thing that your parents do. It's like, I don't know, I think it's good to find your own path and
definitely,
do what you want to do.
I've always been very fortunate that my dad is so, supportive of what I do, and he doesn't see it as lesser value because it's not something that he would do personally.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always been like a huge thing for me, right? And like something that you brought up there was just that, when people follow directly in a parent's footsteps, especially with music, sometimes it doesn't work out,
Yeah.
But in one case that it did, I just want to shout this guy out because it's unreal. There's a band that I'm super into called Teenage Bottle Rocket. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They're like a punk band, and I just love the way that they sound. They're super sick. But Ray, who plays guitar and sometimes does vocals, his son Milo actually did his own like music project, basically, where he played drums, bass, guitar, vocals, everything, and put out an EP. And this kid's like maybe 12 years old.
Wow.
And like you see like concerts of them in Wyoming, that's where they're from, and like his kid Milo is off to the side of the stage, like leather jacket, super stoked on it. And that's one of those cases where it's like it makes sense because this kid is super talented.
It's organic.
Yeah. So if anybody listening wants to check him out, Teenage Bottle Rocket is, Ray and his band, incredible. They have a song called Skate or Die, which is so good. And then they have
Nice.
another song called Bigger Than Kiss, which is them being bigger than Kiss, essentially. It's super funny. But his son, Milo, his band is Human Robots, and they're really sick. I have an an EP over there of them. It's really sick.
Yeah, I think that, music is such a good example for some people that have just followed their parents, and it's like, oh.
Some cases it works, other cases it just doesn't, man. It's not, there's something else there. And I almost feel like in some cases, you're almost robbing yourself by following exactly what your parents do, right? Like, you don't have to be like that at all. Like, I don't know. I definitely think I am very similar to my dad, but we have so many things that are so different,
I think that, I think you have to find your own path and what you're good at. And if your parents can support you and believe in you, then that makes a huge difference. And I have my parents to thank for, it was such a weird thing that I was doing with BMX, and they didn't fully understand it, but they at least enabled me to, pursue it. And they've supported me along the way for sure. So, big thanks to them.
I love it, man. That's super rad. Super cool to hear, Anyways, I'm going to keep kind of going through these if you don't mind.
For sure.
But over the years, you have hosted, flatland jams. You've hosted dirt competitions. You've hosted park contests. There's so many different things that you've done within the community. And one of the things that I was blown away by was flatland competitions, mainly just because flatland, like I said earlier, is so separate. It's on its own, right? You've got BMX over here, and you got flatland way over here. Like most BMX riders, that kind of ride everything, don't even know 5 different flatland tricks. Like, they don't know the names of them, which is pretty wild.
I'm glad you brought that up, and I know that was one of the things I mentioned, but I'm honestly really proud of the events we hosted. Yeah, that was through the Action Sports Coalition with Dave Thomas and our buddy Grant Guitar, helped out through Joanne at the City of Mississauga, and Neela, Mike Pose helped out a bunch. That whole Meadowvale crew. We basically, long story short, we formed a coalition that was affiliated with the City of Mississauga and enabled us to get a funding grant. I think we had like 60 grand from the Trillium Foundation. So it was like we applied for it and we got this huge grant, and part of it was enabling us to do like awareness, events, i.e. jams. Part of it was we helped fundraise money for the Iceland skate park, that whole bowl that got built. That was partially how I ended up meeting some of the contacts through Dewar skate parks. And then, we basically did a bunch of sanctioned events. And one of them was the Flatland series. And we had some pretty sick jams, I think. And they were, pretty easy to organize because it's like, okay, what do we need? We need a flat piece of ground. So I think we had 2 of them at the University of Toronto Mississauga campus.
Nice.
And like the Flatland community was so pumped. They were like, yeah, we'll come out to that. And I'm like, okay. All these riders came out from like all over Ontario, and they were just so like easy to work with and organized, and they were all like pumped. And we had like Chase Gwynn. No, it was a Chase. He came out, like Lachlan, all those dudes, and like just some serious talent from all across the province coming to this little jam. And all we did was provide like a sound system. We had the catering, and it was all like sanctioned through the city. I think we had like a bit of a purse, and we had some sick contests, man. And I'd love to do it again because I'd love to have it where you have like a battle format, and maybe it's hosted in like a ring with elevated seating.
That would be wicked.
People could like watch, and spectate, and then it'd be like head-to-head riders, and then you just get like knocked out
I
and
like
it'd be a
that.
battle format.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that again.
That's actually a really good idea. I like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to some people about that next year because, again, it was fairly easy to organize and their community was so great to work with.
I feel like Flatland almost works perfectly for that, you know? Like when you think about like a battle format, like what else could it work with? Like you could do it at like a park contest, but like a street contest, I don't know, it seems weird. Like it's Flatland almost seems like the perfect thing for it. I like
know.
that.
And you get the music, and you get you get a DJ. Like my friend Ian would come out, and he would like DJ these events. We had like a 6 sound system. Should probably still have that sound system. We bought it.
Damn.
Now we have I have my own generator, so you just bring that out.
Yeah.
You know, hook up the PA system. I want to. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get on this again.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it was really fun, and it's a really good spectator sport because everyone can see really easily what's going on, and you might not understand all the tricks, but like you can see when someone's throwing down.
Oh yeah.
And it's all right there in front of you. It's within like a 20 by 20 space. So yeah, that's gonna be on my list of to do, I think, for next year. Dirt contests, you know, we had a few dirt jams that were pretty good. Yeah, we had some pretty good turnouts actually in Meadowvale. We had some shredders come out to that. Again, something I'd love to do again with, you know, some people in 2022. King of Dirt.
I like that.
I'd love to do that. We could throw like some money down for a purse, have like 2 jumps or something.
Yeah.
2 or 3 jumps and like a old school King of Dirt style contest. Dave Thomas, let's talk.
Hell yeah, dude. Dave is the man for that.
Yeah, I think that we need to host a King of Dirt contest in 2022. And then beyond that, we did some skate park contests at Iceland. And I'd be on the mic, so I'd be like calling tricks out. It was pretty fun, not gonna lie. We had the mayor come out.
Wow.
You know, we had some skateboard contests as well. And yeah, it was pretty good. Like, yeah, we did some cool stuff, and you know, we gave away some decent prizes and a few dollars here and there, I think. So
That's wicked, man.
you know, I don't think there was a ton of other contests being run at the time or since then. So, you know, if someone else wants to step up, I think that's a huge, important component in BMX is those events, and, you know, just having jam style contests with, you know, placing and, you know, some prizes. And that's how we can really build up BMX and bring it to the next level is, you know, by having these organized events and allowing people to demonstrate their skills and whatnot.
Definitely, man. I'm actually pretty disappointed in myself for this past year because I had plans to do a jam.
Yeah, man. You know exactly what it is with your street jams and the park jams you've had, man. And I haven't made it out to as much as I'd like, but you've done a lot, and that's the same kind of thing.
Tried. I didn't really do much this year, and I felt really shitty about that. I really wanted to get something down.
It's not
but,
easy, man.
This year was just like, I need to focus on a bunch of other stuff. And unfortunately, you know, so
it's the reality. It's tough to do these things over and over again. And you're putting all your time, and, you know, it's pretty much a volunteer labor of love. So it's tough to do. And other people need to step up, you know, it can't just be the same people over and over doing these things. And that's why people get burnt out.
I'm really excited because at the end of the month, there's a jam in Cambridge at Riverside Park. And I'm really pumped for that because all I have to do for this is just bring my megaphone and hand it off. Like,
that's sick. When is it?
It's on Halloween, actually. So I got a busy schedule. I'll be going to, I believe, Jordan's place on either the 23rd or the 22nd. Or even the 24th, I don't know. But then I got the Harvester Jam in Toronto that I'm going to try and make it to. Then the weekend after that, I have Mike Varga's Jam, which I'll be going to film and just doing like coverage of. And then on the 31st, I'll be doing...
that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so super pumped, man. It's going to be rad to see some stuff go down. I'm definitely like really appreciative of everybody doing this, right? Like,
maybe I can help out with that Cambridge thing. to chat more after.
Yeah. I'm unfortunately not really that involved in it, but I'll send you their info and, I'll tell them what's up. So,
Yeah, maybe I can help out with that.
yeah, that would be rad. Yeah, moving on from that, you have quite the video collection from over the years, do you not?
I do.
Yeah.
Name a video.
Oh man, so many. If you ask me that, I'm not even gonna know. What do you have from Road Fools? Because Road Fools is always a good
Okay,
go-to.
you got me there. Because I don't have a ton of props. I don't have a ton of props. That was for some reason I never got super into it. I have a couple. Maybe I have 1 or 2 Road Fools.
Do you have any of the Little Devil videos that had clips from Kitchener?
Man, come on now.
I love it.
I have that on VHS, the original copy. Plus, I have the DVD reissue of Seek and Destroy.
Nice.
Man, that has got to be. And I'll watch that video in the garage from time to time, and that video holds its own.
That's
to
wicked.
This day. It's still so good. Garrett Burns, Christopher, Homan, probably one of my all-time favorite videos.
Dude, absolutely.
FBM, I've got a bunch of FBM videos, and I'm looking back because I was looking at your Crandall video the other day.
Nice.
And then something else got posted up about FBM, and then it made me think, and I'm like, this is what I got into BMX watching. And I'm like, these guys were just savages. I'm like, this is what, that's how BMX was introduced to me, was Albert Street. And
dude, there's nothing like the intro to Albert Street.
I'm like, okay, what am I getting myself into here? This is nuts. Seriously, okay, yeah, let's pop this video in the VHS here, Player Johnny. And it's like, I don't want my kid getting into this.
Yeah, name off a couple more videos that you have. What are some of the ones that you're really stoked on owning?
Dude, Demolition.
Nice.
The Demolition video. I think it's just called Demolition. It's got Chris Bennett. Does it have Mike Aiken in it? I don't know. All I know is it has Chris Bennett in it, and that's one of my favorite video sections of all time.
That's wicked. That's
a classic video on VHS. I just have... yeah, all the old school stuff like Ride On.
Nice.
Super old school.
Yeah.
Drop the Hammer.
Wicked.
That's more modern. First Etnies DVD that came out, Forward.
Dude.
I bought that on DVD. That was like $50 back in the day.
Do you have Grounded?
Grounded, I have that.
Nice.
Anthem 1 and 2, obviously.
That's wicked. I love that.
And then just some really sick videos like 1201.
Dude.
That was what I was watching growing up. 1201. Yeah, like some of the ride videos. Thunder had that. That was all trails.
That's wicked.
Just stuff like that, yeah. And what was the other one? Nowhere Fast.
Oh man, that's a must.
You'd appreciate that. It's all street, I think.
I love it.
Street and some ramp.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty healthy video collection. Still got all my VHS. Some DVDs going strong in there.
That is awesome, man. I got super lucky. Like a couple months back, I get a notification on Facebook, and it's my buddy Caleb. He's like, "Yo, you have to go to Toronto tomorrow and pick this stuff up." So this dude in Toronto had a big magazine collection, DVDs, and even parts that, he couldn't bring with him. He's moving away. He did not have, the space. He just needed to get rid of it. It was all either going to get sold to me or it was going in the trash.
Nice.
And I paid $40. Originally, it was $20. And then I got there and I was like, I feel
no way
bad paying $20. I'm going to give you $40.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel right about doing this. Yeah. So I got like literally most of those magazines that are in there are from that. Most of those DVDs are from that. There was a bunch of parts, like, man, so much throughout there. I think I have probably 20 Ride BMX magazines that are in a row. Like, clearly this dude had a subscription, Yeah, there's some wicked stuff in there. And then also
I like your organization too of all the rides there.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
numbered. Even my vinyl is all like by the
That's how you gotta do it.
alphabetical.
I'll have to bring you over to my place and show you my mag collection. It's
Dude, I would love to
quite
see
large.
it.
It goes back to '97, I think.
Wow.
I still have the first magazine I bought. Had like TJ11 on the cover.
Man, I wish I still had some of that stuff. Like, I feel like such an idiot because if you look around, there's like different pages from BMX magazines and whatnot, and even on like, my part of the desk over here. And I feel so stupid for doing that because it's like covers that I just like chopped out of there, Like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. But I know I'm not the first, and I'm definitely not the last to do it. So
No, it's cool, man.
Yeah,
it's good.
I love it. You've been working in municipal law enforcement for about 6 years. And whenever I see like a BMX rider or even a skater or somebody within this culture kind of gravitate towards law enforcement, it's always very interesting because most of like BMX skating or anything like that is kind of rebelling against that system, right? You're riding street, which is like trespassing. You're building jumps on land that isn't yours. Like there's a whole lot of stuff within this industry that is just, breaking the law.
Yeah.
And it's so weird to me because a lot of the time I just end up at a spot, I'm not even riding, I'm just looking and like, oh, wait a second. I'm trespassing
on
right
private
now.
property.
I'm not supposed to be here. Like, whoa, you don't even think twice about it.
I think it's a career path that I did for a period of time. It was an opportunity that presented itself to me. Working in urban planning, with the city. So real quick, basically I had the opportunity to get into municipal law enforcement, which is basically bylaw. I did everything except for parking and animals. So anything else related to basically city laws is what I was frontline enforcing. And I had no background, no experience, no education. But since I knew the zoning bylaw so well, which is, one of the urban planning documents that regulates how everything is built in our communities, that was considered an asset, and they brought me on. So they took a chance on me. I took a chance on that job, and I spent 6 years as a frontline officer with the city, and it was a really eye-opening, interesting experience, kind of getting a real behind-the-scenes look at law enforcement, and just seeing the city from a different angle.
Yeah.
At nighttime, going to sketchy properties, dealing with sketchy people, all kinds of different situations, potentially, certain risky things like, potentially, some dangerous situations, things like that. But, it was super interesting for me because if you look at BMX, like you said, it's super
rebellious in a way.
It's rebellious and kind of anti-authority. And then I got into that, and it's like the complete opposite. But I think it worked well for me because I was always able to see all different sides of things. And then I just put on a different hat, and it's like, okay, well now I'm acting in this capacity and working for the city and kind of showing up basically at people's properties for house parties that were out of control, rundown properties that are just full of garbage, long grass and weeds. You're walking down the street and you see a house that just looks totally shady.
Yeah.
Like that's a bylaw infraction, and you can call up the city and they will go in and
deal with it.
And that was me showing up at the front door, knocking on the door and being like, hey, how you doing today? I'm just here about XYZ. We're gonna have to get this sorted out. And I just work with people, to find a resolution and explain what the rules were, and give them a reasonable time frame to get things done. But
right,
it was pretty cool, man, honestly. Just a real interesting, eye-opening experience into law enforcement, and then seeing what the police do. Yeah, wouldn't trade it for anything really.
Definitely. Now, what I'm really interested in, and I don't know if you can tell us much, but what was like probably the wildest, scariest, or just like craziest experience you had being a bylaw officer? Because I feel like a lot of people, it's weird, but they almost just don't have respect for these people when they still deserve it, Like at the end of the day, I always look at it as you're just a person doing your job,
Yeah. That's a good question. And I've got like 40 notebooks. So everything you do in law enforcement, you have to record in a notebook. And it says at 10 o'clock on Friday night, I was at this location and this is what happened. And that's what is used for, legal proceedings.
Yep.
Like, well, what happened? Oh, refer to your notebook. And I have 40 of these notebooks over the course of 6 years that have just so many crazy stories and properties in them, and it's like putting my finger on it is obviously challenging, but there's been times, I'd say there's been like a handful of times where I've been on a call and it's like I need backup. You're by yourself normally, and you might be cornered on a property that you didn't expect to be. You may have made a little bit of a slip up and you've kind of put yourself in a bit of a vulnerable position. And then, there's probably been about 5 times, that I actually had to call for police backup.
Whoa.
And it's like, I feel threatened. Your heart is like racing, someone's in your face. I had a guy, I was basically doing an inspection of this guy's property. And again, yeah, I wish I could talk more about this stuff over the years as it happened, but with privacy and things
obviously
like that, you can't really say that much. But in general terms, I can say that I was doing an inspection on this property and, kind of had my guard down. I went to the front door, knocked on the door. There's nobody home. It looks vacant. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm just going to go do my inspection. And, my guard's a little bit down. And then all of a sudden this guy shows up on the property. And he just like charges right towards me. And he's got a dog.
Whoa.
What are you doing on my property? Who are you? And I'm like, I'm here from the city bylaw department. This is why I'm here. I don't care. You can't tell him anything.
Yeah.
Within like a matter of seconds, he's like closed the gap and he's right up my face. And he's like basically, wanting me to like push him or hit him.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, I'm not dealing with this guy, but he wouldn't let me leave his property. He's like, I go left, he goes right. You know what I mean? And this is like up in my face. His dog's right there. This all is in the matter of like 15 seconds. You go from being pretty calm and
to being just
down
harassed.
And then I had to call for backup on that one. And this guy was like, oh, he hit me. He put his hands on me and I'm like, I don't, like, really? No, but it happened so quickly. But like, this guy was right in my face. I'm like, did I put my hands up? I'm like, I definitely didn't push or hit this guy, but it's like, did I touch him? Like, and you start questioning.
Dude, it's like perfect example of gaslighting, right? Like this dude is totally trying to make it seem like you did something that you didn't, which is pretty wild.
And then just other times where you'd go to like a house party at night and then, you walk up 95% of the time, it's all good. You just talk to people reasonably and say, hey, yeah, I'm here for the party. You got to turn this down. You got to go inside, tone this down. You got to get some cabs here, send some people home. People are generally pretty cool. But, you get alcohol involved and you get a few tough guys. And then it's like, you can easily kind of get yourself into a situation where, you want to maintain control, but
definitely
before you get to that point where you're experienced enough to know how to handle those situations and you're new, like and you're by yourself and it's nighttime, you can easily kind of get yourself into a position where it's like you lose control or someone's like threatening you and they're taking the power and it's just like, who's in charge here? They're backing you down. And in that situation, you always just want to be like, all right, no problem. See you later, bud. You don't have anything to prove.
Yeah.
But you don't want to be in the position where it's like, you can't leave. You know what I mean? So anyways, I had some, stuff like that happen over the years. And it really teaches you a lot, like how to de-escalate situations, how to handle confrontational people.
Definitely.
And then, yeah, just seeing what the police have to deal with, man. Even just hearing what the calls they deal with on the radio, it gives you like a real appreciation and respect for how hard their job is. And anyone that says like, you know, F the police, it's like, go do their job for one day. Go do the job for half a shift.
Dude, I have a perfect story about that. And to be completely honest with everybody that listens, I personally, for a long time, and even now, I still really don't like the police at all. I don't. I feel like there's a lot of situations where, you know, they're just not doing things properly. And like there's so many instances of like, you know, things they should not be doing. And I think that a lot of the stuff within race and everything else plays a big factor into that. And you see it more often than not, right? But I'll be honest, man. One day, about a year ago, Taylor and I are eating dinner in our living room, and all of a sudden we hear our door open. Like, what the fuck? I turn behind me, and this dude that I know from high school that I kind of, you know, have hung out with a little bit, and he's there in our door, completely naked, and he has like, you know, he is not well. There is something wrong with this dude, you know? Anyways, yeah, he's not well by any means, right? This dude is like, he's freaking out. There's something clearly wrong. He is going on and on about all this crazy conspiracy stuff.
Yeah.
You know, anti-government, anti-police, anti-everything. Yeah. Like, and then he goes on to say like some pretty inappropriate things, and like, man,
he's having a mental health episode.
Dude, you would think, right? You'd think. And that's what I thought.
Psychosis. Or...
At first, I had thought, you know, this guy's had a really hard year. He's gone through a lot. There's, I've been there to see a lot of it. You know, I've tried to be his friend for the past year to really try and bring him out of that. So I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and, you know, I get him into the shower. I'm like, okay, just go shower. Oh, I forgot to mention, he had fucking shit himself all down his leg. Like, just disgusting, man. Like,
man.
Taylor's freaking out. She doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I just kind of take charge of the situation. I tell her, go outside, call 911. Don't come in here for any reason at all, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, this dude had, like, something going on, and it was sad for me, you know? Like, I had known this dude since high school.
Fuck.
And, he's in the washroom showering. I'm like, do not lock the door. You know, I'm telling him, do not lock the door. And Taylor goes outside. She gets on phone with 911. I tell her, do not call the police, because the last thing that I want is people who, and I'm going to be honest, in my opinion, people who are not trained for this kind of situation to come here and escalate things, right? Well, because he had walked 3 kilometers in the middle of December completely naked at 7 o'clock at night.
Oh, man.
People had seen him and called the police, obviously. So when you call 911, you know, there's other people listening on. The police connected to the phone and said, hey, I'm sorry. I know you guys don't want us there, but we have to come. There's been calls, you know. We don't have to come into the house if you don't want us to, but we have to come.
Yeah.
And Taylor's just like, no, just go in, deal with it, you know. So I get him in here. We're chatting. He's in the spot that you're sitting right now. I've given him some shorts or whatever to wear.
Yeah.
Police come in, and instantly his mood changes from like singing and being happy to wanting to be violent, wanting to be crazy. And these police spend probably 25 minutes in the doorway just like trying to talk him down, you know, trying to be like, hey, you know, we want to do this easily. We just want you to walk out. We're not going to handcuff you. We're not going to do anything, you know? We're literally just going to take you out to the ambulance. We're going to put you into the ambulance, and that's at the end of it. We're only here to ensure everyone else's safety. This guy would not get the point across, you know? He's like screaming at them. He's getting super pissed. He is just not responding to them. He's being so aggressive. And after about 25 minutes, he just starts giving me this look like he's about to jump across the table and attack me. Oh, I just look at the cops. I'm like, all right, I'm fucking over it. Like, just get him out of here. I don't even care anymore. So they fucking walk around the desk. They get him on the ground as he's stripping naked, like getting super pissed, right? They spend a good 5 minutes with this dude who's 120 pounds because he's just so skinny at this point,
Flailing.
you know? and they end up cuffing him. They cuff his legs, cuff his hands, and then it takes two of them to fucking canoe carry him down the stairs and put him into the ambulance.
Yeah.
And the whole time he's freaking out, yelling, causing a huge scene, you know? And man, I'll be completely honest. I'm so fucking happy that we had people here that were able to deal with that situation. And the whole time they're even saying, because this is like, you know, a month after all the stuff with George Floyd, they're like, or I guess it was a couple months after, but they're like, you know, the police are getting a really bad reception right now. We're not here to do anything like that. We want to make sure that everyone's happy here.
Yeah.
And they dealt with the situation so well. I literally like thanked them so many times. I literally was like, I honestly cannot believe like how good of a job you guys did. I am somebody who normally the last person I would call is the police, you know?
So did that change your perception a little bit?
Absolutely, man. Those guys did exactly what they needed to do. The whole time I gave this kid the benefit of the doubt. I thought that it was, you know, a mental health episode. He's been through a lot in the past year. Guy was on drugs. He was injecting.
Probably meth.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm pretty sure it was meth, but
yeah.
I'm like, dude, I was not ready to handle with that situation. And it all started from Taylor just leaving the door unlocked. You know, I'm like, we have a security camera out there now. We're constantly aware of what's going on in the neighborhood because the last thing we want is more fucking people coming here. And this is not the first or the last time, man. Like we have dealt with people beforehand. Yeah. It's ridiculous, you know?
So what I'll say to that, Cam, is that the police, first of all, the policing has changed so much.
Yeah,
in the past
absolutely,
20 years.
Dude, even the past 5 years.
You can't get away with being, you know, a prick in law enforcement anymore.
In Canada. I still see a lot of shit in the States that I'm not stoked on, but that's okay.
And
I'm in Canada.
Yeah, those guys, you know, and I'm sure a lot of it is, you know, it might be, I don't know if it's 1% of the time or you get some bad apples.
To be fair, I mean, whenever someone does something shitty, you're going to see it because 1,000 people, you know, are going to post it instantly. Yeah. They're going to magnify it. They're going to make sure that everybody sees it. It's not a lot of the time that you see situations like that where these guys came in and helped protect our family, right? Like we have animals in here. We don't know what this guy's going to do. Like I instantly, when he walked in, he was a different person from one I knew in high school.
And honestly, Cam, that's what the police are dealing with so often. Are those same episodes of like someone having like either drug-induced psychosis.
Yeah,
that's basically what
definitely was. Yeah,
drug-induced psychosis, and then they had to basically take him to the hospital for mental health evaluation. And they deal with that so often, and it's like imagine dealing with that as your job every day, and it's like you make one little mistake and then like you're screwed.
Yeah,
but policing in the last 5 years, you know, versus what it was 20 years is so different, and they just can't get away with, you know, certain things that they used to, I think. And, you know, I know how it was, you know, in Peel when I grew up, and, you know, I had my share of, you know, I had some run-ins, you know,
definitely
as growing up, and, you know, even with that perspective and then seeing what they have to deal with now, you know, I still have a lot of appreciation for that. For their role and how tough their job really is at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it's been an interesting opportunity that I took, and you know, I wouldn't trade it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, dude. It's wild to see what they deal with, and honestly, if you have law enforcement in your family or you have someone who's close to you that is within law enforcement, just give them a call, you know, send them a text, let them know that you're really happy that they do what they do, because they do protect us. Like as much as, you know, 18 or 19-year-old me would hate to admit that, I am so happy that we have people that are willing to do that kind of job.
You get that situation and it's like, who else is possibly going to be able to be equipped?
Dude, we've had people try and break in here. We've had people, you know, like trespass where I haven't even been here and the cops have dealt with it, and I hear about it like the next day. Like there's so many other situations where I'm just like, wow, man, we are really lucky that we have people that deal with this, because it's not like you're always going to know that. So
I would encourage, you know, people with certain personalities, you know, if you can deal with conflict, and you can deal with stress, and you're reasonable, and you're not afraid of certain things, I would encourage people to give it a consideration for career path.
Absolutely.
Because there's tons of jobs out there. Bylaw for me was, it's a stepping stone for a lot of people to get into policing, but it was a really good job, with the municipal government, and the schedule can be really good depending on what you're into.
Right.
But something that people don't really think of, and they're not really aware of that job. They just think of bylaws being like parking tickets and things like that. I've personally never issued a parking ticket in my life.
Yeah.
We're dealing with like community problems and trying to find reasonable solutions, and it was pretty cool experience, I thought. So
definitely, man.
Just last note on that is, BMXers, I think, it doesn't last forever. So it's like people should think about, what are you going to do after BMX, and what's your next step? You got to figure out a career path. And
definitely, man. Honestly, the past few months I've been having a hard time because I don't know what I'm going to do after this. Like BMX has played such a big part of my life for literally half of my life, if not more, where things are a little awkward because I just don't know at this point what's going to come after this. BMX will always be a big part of my life, but career path, I mean, I'm not, I've never been to college. I've never been to university. I barely graduated high school. Like, I don't really have too many things going for me other than the fact that like I was able to gather an audience and gather these things within BMX. And that has been a huge thing for me. Like, how do you get past that? And that's something that I've been dealing with for the past few months. And that's kind of why I've taken a hiatus, is just because what do I do? Like, this isn't something that I'm able to do full time anymore. This isn't something that I'm able to continue to do and not have to focus my life in other directions, if that makes sense. So,
well, you can look at the skills you're learning, even just doing this, man, and it's applicable to a lot of other things. And I don't know, we can chat more about it offline, but
definitely,
you're definitely acquiring skills through this, and that can be transferred over to a whole bunch of different other things.
Hell yeah. Thanks,
And
Dewar.
I think that you need to everyone just needs to kind of find something that's they enjoy enough to try and make something with, because you don't want to be hating what you do every day.
Absolutely not.
You need to find something that's satisfying and can pay the bills.
Yeah,
at the end of the day.
And,
if you can balance those two things, then you're laughing.
Absolutely. This is the part of the show where we go to the fans and the listeners from all over, and we ask, what do you want to ask our guest? And today we've got a few questions here. So let's start off from Jarrett Bellamy, if I'm pronouncing his name right.
Yeah.
I feel like I always pronounce names wrong. So
No, you got it.
Perfect. So first of all, he says in quotes, Dewar and I were roommates for a year or two in college. So I got to bust his balls a little bit. So he's got 3 questions to start here.
Okay.
Is Enya, I probably pronounced that wrong, still your favorite go-to weekend morning music?
Dude, what's funny is that demolition video I was telling you about has Enya in it.
That's wild.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Man, I can't remember Jarrett catching me listening to much Enya, but I got a pretty good diverse taste of music. And there might be some Enya in there, Jarrett. Thanks for calling me out on that. I gotta put that on the rotation. I haven't heard her in a little bit.
There you go.
Got some good stuff, man. And if you made the demolition video,
she's pretty good, obviously.
Yeah, she's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think Nate Wessel's part starts out with Enya, and then it cuts into Slayer.
Oh, nice.
How does that work?
Yeah,
It
dude.
does. It somehow does.
Yeah, it's
So
wild.
She's legit.
Oh, man.
What else has he got?
Jared also asks, how much do you miss your Pontiac Aztec?
Oh, shoot. I miss that car a lot, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, that back seat's coming out, air compressor built into the back, the tent set up.
Nice.
The just Girls love that thing. So many good looks, a lot of compliments.
I love it. That's wicked. But to buy myself a Pontiac Aztec.
I kind of miss it. Yeah.
Yeah. He also
A
asked,
lot of love on that
how did
vehicle.
you get the scratch running the full length of one side? Now, I wanted to know, is this the Pontiac or is this on you?
I think he's talking about the car.
Okay.
Oh my god. Okay, so there was 2 scratches on that. I think the one he's talking about though was the I drove through this gate. Well, there's 2 actually. One, I was buying an iPod. When I got my iPod, I jumped the curb and hit this metal T-bar and just scraped the entire side of my vehicle. If it was anything else other than the Pontiac Aztec, I would have been super pissed.
Pontiac Aztec just looks a whole lot better, eh?
And it was just, I had to get some custom paint for that. Or it could have been the time I drove through these 2 metal guardrails that were designed for like a pedestrian. And I thought I could squeeze through there, and it like ripped the side of the car off. Yeah. Like I said, I've made a lot of mistakes over the years. Some questionable.
I love it.
Yeah, thanks, Jared.
Now he says, on a serious note, I wanted to ask, for someone who wants to have a bike park
Yeah, Jared's
or
got
pump
some
track.
stuff going on in North Dumfries.
Nice. I love it. So he says, for someone who wants to have a bike park or pump track built in their town, what are some key steps to getting the process started?
You know what? I meant to write on Jarrett's Facebook the other day because he'd posted up something about attending the Recreation and Leisure Master Plan public participation study. It's pretty long-winded, but it was basically that. And he was right on the money with that, because that's the, like, how you would get something going. It's like, oh, it's in your Recreation and Leisure Master Plan, which every city has. It's like a big study that says, oh, what do we want to build in the next 5 and 10 years in our municipality for leisure and parks. And if you can get a pump track on that document, so do whatever it takes to get support for that, whether it be filling out those surveys or, you know, getting 20 people to fill out those surveys and comment forms. That's a great way to start. And Jared's on the right track. And I meant to write that on as a comment because he's on the right track with that. Secondly, I would say, yeah, you just need to get someone on board in the municipality that believes in the product and, you know, your idea, and having that champion, I'll call them, in City Hall goes so far. And I was just saying this to our client last week in Regina. I'm like, having his support was crucial for the success of the facility, because if you don't have anyone that cares in City Hall, that doesn't really see your potential, then it's going to be way harder to get off the ground. So
definitely,
hopefully Jarrett can find that person at City Hall, or either on staff or maybe on council. So you've got, you know, staff who are the actual people that work for the city, and then you've got your councilors who are elected by the residents to represent them at city council. So between those two groups, getting someone on board is huge.
I love it, man. That's such a great answer to that. And I think for anybody else who is going through a similar process, or, you know, wants to get something done, honestly, hit up Chris Dewar on Instagram, you know, hit you up on the Transitions Bike Parks thing. And, you know, I'm sure you'd love to help. Like, your whole thing, honestly, I feel like it's, you want a pump track in every major place, like just to have something for people to ride, right? Especially someone who loves, you know, cycling in general.
Yeah, it's just like having a baseball diamond.
Absolutely.
It's like, okay,
that's the way it needs to be looked at.
And, you know, every municipality, you know, is a candidate for having this type of facility, because I'm pretty sure that people ride bikes in every town.
Definitely. I've honestly been really wanting to talk to the city about getting a skate park here Like, if people, I hope people don't know where I live within the city, but if people do know where I live in the city, they know for a fact that there is nothing around here to ride. It takes me a good 25-minute bike ride, 30-minute bike ride just to get to anything to ride.
You got to check out that recreation and leisure master plan.
Definitely.
And, get it on there. But
I love it.
Yeah, beyond that, you just need the funding. So you gotta get it on that master plan and then get it in the budget. So do whatever it takes to get it on 2022 budget, 2023 budget. Get those dollars.
Yeah,
that's ultimately what it's gonna take to get the project off the ground.
Hell yeah, man! I love it. Moving on from that, Jarrett wants to say that it's rad seeing you out riding with your kids. What is your favorite part about riding with them?
Yeah, it's just cool spending time with him. And Jared's got some little shredders himself. He's got a boy and a girl, and he knows what it's like. So
love it. Just
spending that time and sharing your experience and your passion with your kids is pretty rad. And then, I like to show off a little bit for Kieran. It's like, okay, dude, watch this. See if I can impress him a little bit. And
that's wicked.
Yeah, that's kind of fun. So
definitely. So the last one from Jarrett Bellamy. He is asking, do you still wear hockey pads when trying big tricks for the first time?
I think that was the first and the last time I wore those hockey pads, but
that is hilarious. So
I don't know if that was the last. Yeah,
we'll check out the video that he sent here.
Oh boy,
this is obviously Riverside Skate Park's dirt jumps opening day.
Oh my God, what was I doing?
Almost landing it.
I was so low.
Flips are hard, man.
No, I was way too low.
I think the main thing too is that
I've never seen that angle. Jeez.
Dude, the main thing is that like doing a flip over these jumps is ridiculous. These jumps are so like, if you don't hit perfectly, you're not going to clear them,
Yeah, I learned that the hard way. I wasn't even going like high enough at all. Yeah, that was not good. I've never seen that perspective, and really didn't make it look close. I thought it was closer than that.
Yeah.
Man, I broke my forks.
Yeah, so what
lost
exactly
$50
happened there? I want to know.
So, yeah, that Riverside backflip, I was helping the city as an employee oversee the development of that track and working with the builder, the Mr. Claude, very skilled machine operator and builder, and Craig, who is doing all the hand shaping work. And I bet somehow Craig and I made a bet for $50 that I would backflip the jump at the park. But I don't know, those jumps were just maybe not quite big enough, or the other one was too big, and I chose the not quite right set. Never done a flip on dirt before, so I thought it'd be what better opportunity than opening day of the park. And I think I tried it 5 times, ended up breaking my forks or bending them.
Jesus.
The news reporters were there. I crashed in front of everybody. The counselor was there.
Almost pulled it.
Almost. I thought I was closer than
almost
that.
Pulled it.
But I still paid Craig the $50.
Jeez, man.
Yeah, man. And had to get some new forks and didn't land the backflip, unfortunately.
Guy should have bought you new forks for even trying
me $50 for that. Sorry.
That's typically how it works with me, at least.
No, that was another one for the books.
Yeah, dude. That's a wild one. I love it. It's such a funny clip. I feel like we've all joked about like, throwing on hockey gear, even like padding up and like
I was wearing shoulder pads.
Yeah.
Shoulder pads for that one. And I wish I landed it. The other angle looked better.
Yeah. Yeah, if you find me that angle, I'll throw it in there. We got one here from Mr. Dave Thomas, who you guys can go and check out on the Goat Cave podcast as well. Dave is the GM of Joyride 150. So we had a good chat a little while ago.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And shout out to Dave. He's seriously one of the coolest dudes
One of my oldest BMX compadres. Love that guy.
Yeah, so
way back, we've done some pretty rad stuff together.
Oh, hell yeah, man. I love to hear it. He's a sender too, like,
oh man,
dude,
he's still killing it too.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess when you ride Joyride every day, how can you not, right?
He's just in really good shape too. It's just like he's been able to do so much on his bike just because of his like physical ability.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
He's kept himself in really good shape over the years, and
I love it.
Yeah.
So Dave Thomas says, any plans to build another set of backyard trails? If you do build some, can I come shred them?
Man, I'd love to, Dave. Love to. And I just had this conversation with my wife yesterday. I need some more land. Need some more. If we're going to move and buy a bigger property, then I'd love to build a fresh setup. Nothing too big, but some fun jumps.
I love it, man. That would be so sick.
Yeah. Have our own private spot. I feel like, honestly though, like seriously, we're building all these facilities for everyone else, and it'd be great to have our own private spot that we could, you
gotta look at it as like the way that I kind of described it to Jordan. So it's like having your own private, like pro-built gnarly setup only benefits you in the way of like, hey, this is what I have in my backyard. You can really show off what you can do as a builder, right?
Yeah,
and what you can design. That's the thing, right?
Portfolio.
I mean, in theory, Jordan could write off his entire ramp and just say, hey, this is a showcase. This is what I wanted to build to show exactly what I can do for people.
I hope Ride and Ramp Company paid for that wood.
Oh man, definitely.
Because that's a legit showpiece.
Yeah, it's so good. It's a wild ramp. You and I will have to go out there at some point. I know that you would love that place.
I feel like it's probably
it's gnarly.
Like my skills are probably not quite suited for it, but I could probably mess around with it. You can
flow around. It's fun.
Yeah, Jordan's built some amazing stuff, and honestly, like that is a legitimate showpiece for his company. So. Yeah, you got to be creative with your. I hope that Ryden paid for that.
Definitely, yeah, I love it, man.
But trails, Dave Thomas, 2023, 24. Hopefully, it gets more land.
Hell yeah! So this last fan question comes in from Spot the Looney, aka Scott Loyce. And as I mentioned earlier, Scott is quite the skate park advocate. He's always at every meeting. He's always pushing to have new skate parks. He's doing whatever he can to benefit the community and give back. And something I wanted to mention earlier that I totally forgot about, Scott is actually a paramedic as well. So, it's kind of interesting. Honestly, when I invited you on, instantly I was like, man, Scott would be a great co-host if he didn't live, in Peterborough or wherever he lives. I mean, I'm probably getting that wrong.
First responders, man. Honestly, paramedics, hardest job there.
Oh, dude, absolutely.
So much respect for those guys.
He's not very open about it either. Like, he doesn't really tell too many people that he's a paramedic. But to me, I'm like, that is like the hardest job of them all. Like there's some real PTSD stuff that you see.
Straight up, those guys have to deal with so many challenging situations.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they probably get treated pretty badly by a lot of people that they're trying to help.
Yeah.
And the one thing that's good, that people still have enough respect for the fire department and ambulances and maybe not so much the police, but when you see the sirens for an ambulance coming, people like pull over to the side of the road.
Get out of the way. Yeah.
And that's like one thing that we still have is like that respect for paramedics and things where we can pull over on the side of the road and let them do their job and get out of their way at least.
Definitely.
Anyways, what's our friend Scott saying?
So Scott is saying, are there any legislated safety standards that exist for skate parks in regards to slab thickness, and how high can you have a drop like off of the back of a quarter pipe, etc.? So he's just giving you some test knowledge here, I'm sure he knows all of this.
Okay, so he wants to know the maximum drop height, and then he's inquiring about the
Slab thickness, yeah.
of concrete. Okay, well,
All eyes on you.
I'll just preface my response with clearly stating I'm definitely not a skate park expert, but those questions would fall under the Ontario Building Code, and you would be able to have, I believe, a maximum 2-foot drop, 0.6 meters, before you would need a railing of maybe 3 feet tall. Could be wrong on the railing height, but yeah, 2 feet is your maximum drop off per the Ontario Building Code.
Interesting.
And you'd require a railing to guard that drop after 2 feet. In terms of your slab thickness, and I believe that's correct. I'm not a building code expert.
Yep.
But yeah. And then his other question, definitely, again, not my area of expertise, but that is the kind of thing that would be regulated by the Ontario minimum construction standards, and they would have that standard detail. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely, I think it's called like an OPSD specification. And that's like a standard thickness for construction. So yeah, look up OPSD specs, and I think that's what it would fall under. But to tie that into what we're doing with pump tracks and stuff like that, we're just applying those same sort of construction standards and those minimum standards for like asphalt design and thicknesses of materials and compaction and things like that. And you just look to other industries that have already done it. It's like, oh, how do you build a road? How do you build a pathway? How do you build a concrete slab? And then you apply it to skate parks and bike tracks. So yeah, I think that
love it. That's rad, man.
Along the right path for that answer, at least.
Definitely. So I just want to say, Chris, thank you so much for coming on today. This has been a lot of fun. I got one last question for you before we get to the rest of this. So I just really wanted to know, and what's your advice for others out there who want to better their local BMX, skate, or any kind of action sport community?
Awesome question, man. And yeah, again, thanks for having me, Cam. This has been rad, and I know I've dragged on a lot, but yeah, a lot of stuff to cover. So that's a great question, though, about bettering your local scene. Man, you can start with a small scale, do a garbage cleanup.
Love it,
go
dude.
To your skate park.
Yeah.
Go bring 4 garbage bags and just be like, hey, people are afraid to ask people to do stuff, but it's like, you go bring some plastic bags and some gloves to a skate park and start doing it yourself. Get 2 buddies to help you, and then be like, hey, yeah, help. And I guarantee you that other people will go, okay, I'll do that. I'll help you clean up some garbage. And then you bag it up, and then you put it out by the bin, and then get the city to pick it up. That's like the easiest thing you can do, is like clean up your skate park. That's it would go so far. Even if you just, and then you call the news, call up your local newspaper and be like, oh, the local skaters cleaned up the skate park. Come take a photo. Oh, now it's in the newspaper. Now you've just made a positive impact for your entire community by picking up 3 bags of garbage. It's like, oh, skateboarders aren't so bad after all. They clean up the garbage, because that's like a huge complaint that people would say, oh, they litter, they're messy. And
yeah.
Like, no, we clean up our skate park. Yeah, look at the front page of the newspaper. Super easy to do. So that's just one idea. Secondly, have a contest, man. Have a jam. Do stuff that you've done. Try to do it legit. So get in touch with the city and see what you can do for partnerships, and work with the city to see, if there's a permit required to do a jam or something like that. If you need a stereo system, and then just see what they can offer you in terms of support to make that happen.
Right.
And then you have that partnership going, with your local municipality, and again, call up the news and be like, hey, yeah, we're doing this. And then they'll probably look for some sort of positive news story out of that. And then, again, that's that one little thing you can do. Thirdly, beyond that, I don't know. You'd have to think bigger scale in terms of, maybe there's some repairs that can be done at the park, or, maybe you can fundraise to have a new facility built. Like Jarrett, he's been doing tons of fundraising in North Dumfries.
That's wicked, man. I'm really stoked to hear that. Props to you, Jarrett. Sorry.
Yeah,
so bad with names.
Yeah, like bigger scale, right? You can get corporate sponsorship for, tens of thousands of dollars that are going to be required to build something like that. And that would be the high end of what you could do in your community, I'd say. And
I can guarantee you this, Jarrett is not going to have a basketball net in the middle of the fucking bowl.
Yeah, and he doesn't want those trees. You can't spend the extra money on trees either, man. That's going to the pump track. I know what he's doing out there, man.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you got to put the money towards
I love it.
The track and the skate park.
In all seriousness, Dewar, it's incredible having you here for the last probably 4.5 hours just chatting. Dude, we're at 4 hours in here, so
I feel thanks for people if they've listened this far. But,
absolutely,
you're gonna have to cut this down. We can't...
Definitely, yeah. I'm gonna cut it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm gonna make a guess right now. Probably 3:15, 3.5. I tend to try and keep as much as possible in there. And plus, since I haven't been here for the last 2 months, guys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But
yeah, no, I appreciate you inviting me out, and it's been rad sitting down and talking to you, man.
Absolutely.
Again, thanks to you for everything you've done, and
thank you, man.
Your contribution to the sport, and you brought a lot of awareness to a lot of people and a lot of issues.
Well, thank you. And, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. It needs to be said. And it's been good, having me and bring some, let me talk about some of my experiences.
Oh, of course,
which
man.
Is a little bit different than, your average BMX rider. So,
yeah,
it's been good to share some of my
absolutely
thoughts and experiences and some of the advice I have for, how people can better their scenes and get stuff built in their communities.
Definitely, man. Fully agree with you there. And this part of the show, we, ask, what do you want to shout out? Is there anybody out there you want to thank? Do it now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks to my family, first and foremost, my parents for supporting me over the years. It's obviously been not your traditional sport, not your traditional career path I've taken, but, thanks to my parents, my family, my wife for putting up with me and, believing in a lot of the stuff I've been doing. It's taken me away from home for a lot of time. I've been basically doing 2 jobs for years, which has been a little crazy. So yeah, I got to thank family first and foremost. My brother as well for help getting me into the sport, and my kids for putting up with my craziness. Friends, also have my back over the years. People I've ridden with over the years, and who believed in me and helped out in whatever way they've been able to. Got to thank my crew, my team on transitions. Simon Cox, Igor Dragoslavic, first and foremost, Brian, and then everyone else we've worked with over the years that have made it possible to do all that stuff. Nick, Matt, my other friend Nick, these guys have helped us build some pretty rad facilities and carry on in the future. And then everyone else for putting up with me.
I love it.
Thank the city for the opportunities they've given me as well, and all our clients for the chance to build some cool stuff for them and give us the opportunity. So thanks to everybody. Wicked,
man. It's been incredibly having you. Sorry. It's been incredible having you here today. It's been such a fun episode and such a great way to come back after a bit of a hiatus there.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me, Cam.
Yeah, absolutely.
So keeping it local today, right?
Definitely, yeah. I want to kind of keep it local for a few here. Obviously, episode 100, I'm hoping to have something big planned for you guys. Don't worry about that. So,
yeah, it's cool show you're doing, and
thanks, man.
Like I said, it's it can be thankless, I'm sure, at some point. I know there's a lot of work that goes into it. So
yeah, it's a full-time job. Like literally just doing this stuff is a full-time job.
Man.
I put in about 40 hours a week just on this.
Dude.
Like,
yeah,
it's not just a 4-hour recording, right?
No.
It's like, it's so much editing, so much research, so much setting up and planning, so much posting, so much everything else in between. But I love it, man.
It's people like you that have the passion for it that are what's driven BMX, and a lot of other things too, right?
Definitely.
It's people that care enough to put in that work. So hats off to you, man.
Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. And anyways, we will see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Thanks.